light without dark.
Here we are. We are live. We got fucking Ross in here today. What's up, Ross? How's it going, bud?
How's it going, guys? All right. Glad to be here.
All right, man. So, obviously, John will be joining us in a while. He'll be calling in remotely, so we'll have John on here in a while. But we got Ross in here right now. So Ross, what's been going on, man? Let's hear about. You want to start with the past, or you want to talk about the present?
You know what? I guess we ought to start with the past, and then we can move into the present, right?
Yeah. All right. So Necrovore. Now, you guys were obviously. Were you guys high school friends? Is that how it?
Yeah, John and I were high school friends.
Okay, so and you guys were obviously friends before the band started.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like how when did you and him start hanging out and doing whatever you did, back in the day?
Well, John, and I've got some photos here. I can maybe bring them up later. But John had a 1966 GTO.
Holy shit! All right.
I had a 1955 Chevy, big block, dual fours. And that's literally how we ran into each other. Was we were out drag racing around town, and I was out.
What year was this around?
1981.
Damn. Okay, 81.
So I was out in the Chevy, and man, my buddies were all going, "Oh man, look at that guy in that GTO! Go race that guy in that GTO! Go get that dude!"
Nice.
And they were expecting us to, I guess, be at odds with each other, and it turns out no, we really had a lot in common.
Yeah, well, I can see how if you're already into muscle cars and all that,
oh yeah,
you're gonna like, wow, that's a nice car. That's a nice car.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, John and I hit it off, and we started forming a friendship, and then later we were working together out at the mill, and yeah. So anyway, partying together, chasing chicks, and all that kind of great stuff. And
so you guys would have been like what in 81, like 15, 16, 17, somewhere
18.
18 in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you're...
Yeah, I graduated at 82. John graduated at 82.
So legal drinking age was still 18 back then.
Oh, yeah, man. That was... I hit the cutoff many times. When drinking age was 18, I was 18. When it was 19, I was 19.
Yeah.
So
you could... Those are the good old days when you could just drive around with a beer in your car. And
oh, yeah. We did that all the time. We did hung out with a bunch of the redneck guys, did the pasture parties and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we'd get out there and, big old bonfires and burn everything down. And it was a blast.
Fantastic times, actually.
Dude, New Braunfels in the 1980s was the bomb. You just couldn't get a better place to grow up. There was the river.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful girls, bikinis.
Yeah.
Man, in nighttime, we'd take the cars out, run up and down, drag race out there. And
it was prime heavy metal.
It was super heavy metal.
Yeah, it was prime heavy metal. People who weren't there really don't understand what it was like back then, what heavy metal was like. In contrast to today,
Oh, yeah. Like, for instance, you've seen the 99.5 Kiss homegrown heavy metal album with Liquid Sky?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, those were my neighbors.
Oh, really?
2 houses down.
No shit.
Dennis Peak and them guys, they live there. And you're going, all right. So
did you know Steve Cooper and all them?
Yeah, so I grew up with these guys in my neighborhood.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Dennis lived right down the street. And,
see, we're learning all type of shit here already.
It was hilarious to hang out with those guys because I guess they never thought of us, or me, as a musician. And then all of a sudden, one day, everybody's going, wow, have you heard Necrovore? Who are they? And they're like going, holy shit, it's that guy down the street.
That's fucking awesome. Look at this, man. Fucking Joaba coming through with $20 super chat. Thanks, dude.
Holy shit.
Thanks, Francisco. Fuck yeah. We got quite a few people in here watching already. 71. So
man, I hope they enjoy the conversation.
Oh yeah, dude, this is going to be great.
Oh yeah, I was talking to John earlier, and you're going, man, there's no way that we could tell you all these stories in one setting.
Well,
I mean, it would take forever.
It'd be a multi-part series or something, right?
Oh yeah, because we raised hell, got in a lot of trouble, and had so much fun. I had just the amount of fun, the lifestyle, the way it was at that point. It's hard to overrate it.
It really is, because it was wild, and it was more unhinged, the right word, because it was just kind of more, the culture of today can't understand the culture of then. So,
yeah, I really think so. The stuff that we did then you could have wound up in jail forever or something. I mean, I've told you.
It's so true, though.
John was arrested and held by the occult squad.
Yeah.
So they could investigate him?
Let's okay. We're gonna probably jump back and forth. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I know.
I want to get to that. I want to get to that story, dude. You in the video, if you guys were watching, there's a picture of these guys at a place with giant inverted crosses, pentagrams painted on the wall, and all this insanity. So what? Just to jump into it, what was the story behind that picture?
So that's local legend, right? You guys have heard of the insane asylum here in San Antonio?
Is it Midget Mansion? Is
That's the insane asylum. It was a fat farm, is really what it was.
Okay.
But we call it insane asylum. That was the story.
Sorry, PC people, but yes, it was called Midget Mansion here.
Well, Midget Mansion's different. This was the insane asylum.
The actual insane asylum?
Yeah, it was actually a fat farm, but everything it was referred to as an insane asylum. It's a big San Antonio. You guys can Google the legend. I'm sure it'll still come up.
Okay, well let's hear about it.
Channel 4 was doing. Bob Salters was doing this continuing talk about Satanism in music in San Antonio.
That was a big thing.
That was a big thing.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
So one night, Scott and I and John, we decided, man, we need to take advantage of this. So we built us up a bunch of upside down crosses, soaked them in gas, wrapped sheets and stuff around them, drug it all out to the insane asylum, and then painted the name Necrovore in great big 20-foot tall letters across the top of the place.
Yeah.
Got out there, set everything on fire, and just burnt those big old crosses out there. Set everything on fire and took our photos.
So those crosses that you're holding in the picture, are those the ones you put on fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
We took them out and soaked them and burned them down, and
I bet it looked awesome.
it was awesome. John, I think, has got the photos. We did a whole set of photos and stuff out there, and then it really paid off because next week on Channel 4, Bob Salter, they had the big Satanism thing with
you can imagine too, how that would go over too.
Talking about how they were a big satanic cult that anyway, all right.
You got some publicity here.
Oh hell yeah, that was.
So and eventually you said the police came and knocking, the occult squad.
Yeah, John got arrested. And I'm gonna let him tell that story, but John got arrested by the occult squad. Was that when they thought he was going to kill the president? Maybe when he was, but.
Shit.
I forget. He was arrested by the occult squad, and then he was held, for a week or two down there in the jail, and they did some investigations. And
so what I'm getting at here is you guys are the real deal. Then you're doing like shit in real life. You're not just talking,
Oh no,
You're actually engaging.
Everything with the music was just an extension of what we were already doing. It was all that energy, everything that we were doing. It manifests itself into the music. It wasn't the other way around.
Where we
didn't start music and then get outrageous. It was the other way completely around.
Wow.
We got into the music as an extension of what we were already doing.
Into.
Oh, yeah, John and I, we spent a lot of time. We hung out with like the Eckankarist, Seth Speaks. So we spent a lot of time hanging out with these people that were supposedly knowledgeable about the occult and all this. And you really have to know something before you can speak about it.
For sure, you can't just go in there blind saying there's some expert on something.
I always had a real problem with these bands that promoted themselves as all satanic. And you're going, well, you guys really weren't, right? You're just a bunch of lame ass cat skinning. I don't know what you're doing over there, but you really don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we were really big into that. Another thing was South Texas. How could you not love South Texas, right? We had Curanderos and Brujas and
all this stuff here already.
Stuff right here. And you went, well, so we were interested in all this already. So we were just bringing this into the music and into our scene.
And this is also something too that in Austin there is supposedly an occult like underbelly there. That like
John hung
right. They have
John hung out
the books.
Right?
And
John hung out with the Golden Dawn members until they basically kicked him out because he was taking over the damn place.
Oh, I got a little jealous for one.
Oh, there was a lot of jealousy going on there, you know.
It seems like everybody's pumped up here, Ross. Look at that. Shit.
Oh, that was hilarious, you know, because they were all into the sex magic and stuff. And, oh, my God. I mean, you'd seen John back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So John shows up to one of their meetings and starts hanging out. And, like, all of a sudden, all the girls want to have sex with John. And maybe they're not so hip on the sex magic stuff anymore.
Hey,
that's kind of funny, right?
That's hilarious.
So, anyway, they kicked him out. But I think John stole a whole bunch of their... He's got a whole bunch of their source documents.
Oh, source document. Okay. Well, John is backstage and he's ready to come on.
Hell, bring him on.
Let's bring him on, man. Make sure we're all good here. Hey, John, do you hear us?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you. Hey, what's up?
What's going on, man? Got Ross here.
All right, man. We got him going, man.
I'm gonna right there. Oh my God.
All right. Hey, dude, I was telling him a little bit about the time you got arrested by the occult squad, but that's going to be a story that you need to tell that.
Yeah, dude, there's too many stories to talk about here. We could have multiple
multiple shows.
No shit. I mean,
I remember I bailed your ass out.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I sat in jail for 2 weeks, right? Thanks a lot. Yeah, well, it was pretty cool, man. There was the abandoned asylum. Remember that?
Yeah, I told a little bit about that story.
Kind of just getting into that one.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Now, the abandoned, did you guys, like, is this the story where you lit a pentagram and it supposedly, like, burned up and flew up in the air or something?
There wasn't no supposedly. That
what
100% happened, man.
Was that the same night?
Yeah, we went out, and so we had decided that you definitely got to have a protection circle, a pentagram.
Yeah.
So we put our protection circle out, and then we said, well, we're going to put gasoline around it and some asbestos and everything. And then we said, okay, let's channel all the power in there and light it up. And when we lit that sucker up, it traced the outline of the pentagram completely. And then shot up to about a 6-foot pillar of fire.
Wow.
And when that thing jumped up, well, naturally, then we jumped inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, John. You remember that?
You know much about the place? I mean, the abandoned asylum was kind of outside of San Antonio, out in the hills, and you had to go up this fucking dirt road, and everything was, you weren't supposed to go up there, and all this shit was all marked, doing no trespassing and shit. And it's this huge facility, and the front of it looks like it's like 2 or 3 stories tall, and the front of it looks like these big giant pillars that come down, and almost looks like a fucking Greek apocalypse, in the front. And the whole thing's white, and supposedly the thing is like super haunted and all this other bit of bullshit from all the crazy people that are there. And the whole front of it, and when we cruised up to it, the whole front of it, on the very top, the banner just says Necrovore across the top, and I was like, God damn, who put that up there? So yeah. And then we come up there, and I'm like, we build this. There's like an atrium at the beginning of the place, and we build this huge fucking pentagram, on the ground, and we stack it. We trace the whole thing full of insulation and shit, so we could gas it up and torch it, because we were going to take some photo shots. So we had the brilliant idea that we're going to set this thing on fire and jump in it, and of course, hopefully not set ourselves on fire. And so we torch this fucking thing, and this thing is huge. It's like 15 foot across. I mean, it's big, this pentagram. And it just, the whole thing goes up into this gigantic fucking fire tornado, the whole thing.
Wow.
The whole circumference.
What a sight.
Yeah, and we're looking at each other, and we're like, God damn, I guess we put too much gas on this fucker. And, and then all of a sudden it kind of goes into like a little stream, like a small little mini tornado, and it just traces the whole fucking thing. The whole thing, from vertex to vertex, and we're looking at each other like, what the fuck, that's pretty fucking cool. And then the whole thing just dies down to there's like about a 6-foot little flame around everything, and we're like, all right, well, I guess that's our cue. Let's jump into the bitch and make some fucking photos, and that's what we did. So,
damn,
I thought that was kind of cool.
That's a pretty wild story. That's definitely a fucking moment, when that happens. You just fucking go, whoa.
Yeah, we took it as a sign, right? It's like, okay, well, maybe I don't know what's going on here, but let's take some photos,
Awesome. No, we were talking a little earlier that you and Ross kind of just met racing cars. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. What did you tell him about that, Mr. Stone?
No, just that, you had your GTO out one night, and the redneck dudes were trying to goad me into going over there and racing you. And actually, when we got together, it turns out we had a lot more in common than we
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, him and me we got to be friends like early on, and that was kind of we had a hobby of, hot rods and fucking old school muscle cars, and and death metal and Black Death, and it all just kind of fit in together with a whole American Pie kind of feel. If you're an American, you love the old fucking insane machines, and
Oh yeah.
he had a badass 55 Chevy that was all kind of jacked up and with this fucking big block in it with these dual force coming out of the hood. And I was like, okay, this guy thinks he's badass. And I didn't know him at the time.
Yeah.
And I had an old 67 GTO that was super beefed up as well. And, we were like goated to meet each other like that. And when we first met each other, we almost broke into a fight, right?
Yeah. It was close.
And, I guess our friends were goating us on, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck you," and I was like, "Yeah, well, fuck you too, buddy." And then they all stepped in and went, "No, you guys need to kind of cut this out. I think you got more in common than you think." And that's how him and me met together. And then next thing you know, after we kind of got together later and started chasing girls around the town, we found out we had music in common too. And we were listening to a lot of really heavy stuff back then. Because since we come back from that time, the old school. Thing, what we were into Hellhammer and Celtic Frost and Venom and fucking Bathory and fucking Voivod and just everything that was from back and then that we can get our hands on, because there was no, real internet at the time. It was all tape trading. And so, we talked to people and sent them out our stuff and they'd send us back their shit. And we hooked up and got friends with the guys from Sarcophago, and I met Max Cavalera. And then, that's back then when they just had the demo out. And then we met a whole bunch of people up north as well, and then of course Immolation sent us their demo, and we got their demo, and the rest is history.
So when did I know you guys were in separate bands, right? Prior, were you maybe jammed in some other bands, Ross?
Oh man, I got to tell you, this was I was in a separate. I was doing some other stuff. John was doing some other stuff. So yeah, that's true, man. I mean,
now. What was Matrix? John was in Matrix.
Man, John was okay. So John, at the time, had abandoned me and ran off to Austin to go to college or something like that.
Yeah, I was in a gazillion bands. I was like in about 6 or 7 bands before Necrovore.
And he was up there, and they were talking to Geffen Records, right?
Yeah, we won. We're leading up to that band. There was like, goddamn. Yeah, but we started in high school bands, and I was playing in bands in San Antonio and bands in Austin, and I was taking vocal lessons from because I had to, they back then they wanted you to have that kind of cleaner, high pitched tone.
Yeah, that was 80s metal.
Yeah, and I kind of, so I went ahead and took vocal lessons from an alto soprano opera singer, and she was bad at, so I could build up on my chops and my diaphragm and all that other shit. So I ended up. Ross was going back and forth seeing us in either Austin or San Antonio, wherever I was at. He'd just cruise up on his chopper and and come to the shows, and we would just have a blast. But that band, when I joined that band, I was only in it for 2 weeks, and we did the Battle of the Bands in Austin, Texas, at Auditorium Shore. It was a huge fucking thing, and we won.
Battle of the Bands back in the 80s were huge events. I remember that.
Yeah, it was something else, and I was like, they were like, well. I went up and tried out for these guys, and they said, yeah, we need this singer. And I said, well, I was turned on to them by the guys from Watchtower, and they said, hey, man, you need to help these guys out. They got a Battle of the Bands coming up in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, fuck, I don't know if I could do anything in 2 weeks. So I met up with these dudes, and they said, hey, you sound great. Why don't you come and join in with us? And I said, well, 2 weeks is not much to get prepped for that. And I didn't think nothing about it. I was like, oh, so you're just going to do this stupid little show on the Auditorium Shore? And it turned out to be all these fucking people, and we came out there and we won it, and then we won a recording contract too, so I was kind of blown away by that.
So from what I read, you had this recording contract, things ready to go, and you were just like, I want to do something heavier, I'm out. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, when I joined the guys, because I did it as a favor, because I was talked to by a couple of guys that already had pretty established bands. They said, hey man, these guys need a favor, like I told you. And then and when I joined in, or when I came to help out, I said, listen man, I'm only helping you out. I really want to like play heavier stuff. And and after we won the Battle of the Bands, I said, well, I'll help you out a little bit more, but I want this to get heavier and heavier. And it just wasn't. And we started playing around San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, all over Austin and all over Texas, essentially. And it was getting more and more popular. And then we got reached out by Geffen, and Geffen wanted to do a four album contract with us. And I said, okay, that's it, dude. I had to talk to the guys. I said, no. This is where it stops. I said, I told you, heavy means heavy. You're not getting there. So I'm still friends with the guitarist, but I think the rest of the dudes ain't too happy about it because that was their dream. And I was like, oh fuck, I don't like this, stuff. So
well, yeah, you can't have someone in the band who doesn't want to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean that's not going to work out anyway. So you probably made the right choice getting the hell out of there.
Yeah, I think so. And then I swung down back to New Braunfels, and Ross is playing for a local band, and I said, dude, let's get together. And he says, well, I'm playing with these guys. I said, well, that's history, so you're not playing with me. So, and I guess you went and told those guys, right, Ross?
Yeah, you don't remember that night?
Not really. You tell me.
So I told him, I said, they said, oh my God, dude, you know John? And I said, yeah, he's a buddy of mine. And he said, oh, bring him out. Invite him to a practice. We want him to hear us. Yeah. I said, sure, man, I'll invite John down, man. He'll come out. And John showed up to one of our practices. And, we played a few songs. And John said, come here, man. I said, yeah. And he said, hey, I've got this idea. And then, I just said, okay, dude, what do you got? And we started working on music, and then I had to tell those dudes, no, I'm out of here, man. I'm sorry. And I'm taking off to form up with John.
Okay, so when you guys did this, there was just you two, right?
Just the two of us.
No other members were involved in the band yet?
No, man, John had everything pretty much written out. The demo that you hear, that first four.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all that was written by 85, 86. John had all that worked out.
Damn.
Yeah, by the time I got a hold of him, when we kind of made that decision, I already had some people in mind out of Austin that were going to help us out. So if you remember, Ross, so we didn't have a name yet. Right?
Yeah, it didn't work out with those guys, though.
And I had Steve Holland from, I guess he was playing with Cyrenax or something like that.
Yeah, Vicious.
Or Vicious Distortion, right?
Yeah, he was still with VD.
Yeah, so we had another guitarist. So we first started going back and forth to Austin, working with Steve because Steve had a place to play. And but he had more of and Steve was a real good friend, but he was more into the punk hardcore scene, and everything that he was writing was more punk and hardcore-y sounding, and everything I was writing was more, more thicker, darker, and I was like, or the speed dark. But I got a lot of influence from the Austin scene too, because the early stuff being so fast and all that shit. We had a big hardcore scene into us, a big punk scene into us, but all in all, we wanted to do, Death and Black Death.
Now, was it Felix from DRI or the drummer?
Oh yeah, John. Yeah, we hung out with the dudes from DRI.
And is that true? He kind of got the name from the band. He called you all a bunch of rabid Necrovores, or is that a true story?
Yep.
Or is that?
No, that is a true story. So after we finally got together, so Steve didn't really work out, and I got with Ross, and I said, yeah, I don't know if Steve's going to really work out, man, because we were working on the name too, and he wanted to call us Deathcore or Mesodaemon before we called ourselves Necrovore. And I said, well, I don't really feel right about it, but I said, yeah, maybe we could do Deathcore, like Marine Corps, some shit like that. And when Steve didn't really work out, I think Scott Humphrey stepped in when he found out there was an opening, and Ross says,
well, I think you're jumping there, man. We got Scott Staffney before we got Scott Humphrey.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, dude. We had Staffney first.
Yeah, Staffney was something else, man.
We had Staffney first, man.
We were looking for a drummer, and it was getting out. We were looking for a fucking drummer. And somebody, I guess it was it Ruben Luna who made the recommendation about Staffney, or we just saw an ad?
That sounds about right.
I don't remember who turned us on to Staffney, but I remember the time that I remember when we went to Staffney's house. I remember that day forever.
Ruben was like the death metal godfather in San Antonio at Hogwild.
Oh, yeah.
So I could see that probably being true.
Oh, yeah, Ruben helped us out.
We went down to Hogwild, and we asked him about it, and we looked at what was posted, and he said, hey, I may know a dude. And we went over to Scott's And when we finally hooked up with him, we brought our shit with us, and we didn't even tell him we were going to bring our stuff over. And we just come over and say, "Hey, we heard you."
You just showed up with all your gear.
We didn't tell
Yeah.
Scott we were coming over.
Yeah, we totally surprised him, and
We just showed
well-
up to this dude's.
That's metal.
yeah, and he ended up kicking his folks out because he was still living at home, and he said, "Hey, you guys need to give us some time here. I want to work with these guys." And
Oh
we
man,
went
you
into
got
his room, and he had his drums all crammed into his bedroom and like a little bitty bed on the floor, and then with this huge kit in his fucking room. And I said, "What's?" Well, that's interesting." And he throws some licks down, and he does some double bass and some rolls.
Oh man, you got to tell the story better than that, man. We got to tell them.
Yeah.
I wasn't done yet, but go ahead.
Oh,
Oh shit.
sorry.
Interject.
Oh man, I just got to see this. Okay, again, I absolutely loved his drumming. Okay, so you got to get this story. We went to the dude's house, right? And like I said, John said he had his drum set up in his room. There was maybe room for a mattress on the ground. And Scott's sitting back there, man. He's got no shirt, cut off blue jean shorts, and steel-toe biker boots on.
Sounds very 80s metal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big old steel-toe biker boots on, man. And
Yeah, he looked like a Black Death fucking redneck. I never,
Yeah,
you know,
it was
I
the
was
funniest-
I was already taken back when I saw him. I was like, I don't know if this guy fits the bill.
I know it's the funniest thing. He was sitting back there drinking a Lone Star beer, man.
Lone Star
he
on
was
top.
totally
Yeah,
that, and he
okay.
had a truck, an old jacked up fucking truck. It was old green
Yeah.
Ford pickup truck, and he had these combat boots on, shorts, no shirt, with a fucking cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And I'm like, you know.
Oh, hell yeah. And John tells him, hey, man, why don't you kick out some double bass, man? So I'm thinking, this guy, maybe he's going to change or something. Nah, man, he just takes that beer can, kills the beer, throws the beer can over in the corner, and just starts beating the fucking drums to death, man. And then he grabs his sticks, which are high school marching band
Okay.
sticks.
All right.
And he just starts beating and you're going, oh, right then. I looked over at John and I said, that fucking dude is our drummer, man. This dude, he has got to be spit, blood, tongue hanging out. He was a beast. He was a beast.
Yeah,
man.
we dragged our equipment in the hallway after he told his folks, give us some space here, and they left the house. And we put all of our equipment out in the hallway while he had his drums in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah, man.
I got with him and I said, hey, yeah, it's pretty good double bass and really, really heavy and stuff. I said, can you do, this Gene LaHoagland type double bass, where he was like, ta-ta-ta-bam, and he was just, and he pulled it off no problem. And he was doing all this stuff from like Dark Angel and shit, and I was like, okay, now you're gonna have to speed it up. And he pulled it off no problem. And then I came over and I said, okay, man, well, I got a song I want to show you. And by the way, we're gonna record it. And I got this jam box here, and it's called Slaughtered Remains. So let's get these licks down. And we recorded the element of Slaughtered Remains right there on the fucking spot.
Yeah, right. Little jam box,
no
man.
problem.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we said we brought our amps over, not a practice amp.
These are like Marshalls. And...
We bought complete stacks of amps over. So you're going to
It was utterly ridiculous. We
had
filled
to
up
be
the hall with all of our equipment, and we were.
That's fucking
we
badass.
couldn't have a little practice amp. We had to have full high gain amplification. We got to blow
Yeah,
the neighborhood. You're young. That's what you think. You're like, fuck. I can't get the sound unless I have all these speakers.
Oh hell yeah! And
up.
we were standing in the hallway sideways. We couldn't even hardly see each other at the time, but
that's awesome.
we had to get that recorded because it sounded. Nah, this dude, he's a drummer. He's going to be with us. Anybody with those steel toe boots and that just jumps in there and starts slamming
on the drums, yeah, man.
Nah, that dude. And then he finishes up, spit, slightly ever, that great accent, that redneck killer.
Yeah, at the end of that, and he pulled it off. We listened back to it, and I was like, okay, there's a drummer. You can't. It was indisputable.
Those 80s jam boxes always recorded rehearsals pretty damn good if you considering too, right? I used to get like this little, jam box record. It sounded pretty damn good. So I'm sure you guys got a good idea. You probably jammed that shit fucking driving back and whatever, all listening to that tape. Slaughter Remains though, right off the bat. Oh man,
that's the very first one, and he pulled off the rolls in between it and the breaks, everything. I was just like, okay, that's it. And I already knew what we were going to fix on it because Slaughter Remains was kind of like the combination between two songs I was working on at the same time. We had another one called King for Fools, and then we had Slaughter Remains, and there was elements of King for Fools that I wanted to, riffs in there that ended up amalgamating with fucking Slaughtered. And I said, okay, well, everything's going to go into this because King for Fools started sounding like Slaughter and vice versa. And I was like, okay, fuck this. So let me just put everything into this.
Very cool. See, I told John he had the more musically minded, man. What impressed me about Scott was just everything, from the beer can, to he just beat the drums to death.
Well, I mean, it's a vibe, right?
Yeah, so he was,
this rules.
For me, he and I worked together so well because, when he would do the roll downs, we would keep our timing, with the number of bass notes being played and the roll downs, and just everything worked with that guy.
So you found your drummer.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you searching still for a second guitar at this point, or
yeah? When did Scott jump in? I don't remember, Ross. I thought it was before that, but I remember it was just you and me. Now that you say that,
Scott was a guitar player in the band I was playing with.
Okay, that's right. Then you came back and said, "Hey, man, I got another guitars," and
yeah,
you just kind of did a lateral move with him.
Yeah, so we just stole the guitar player from Google.
Yeah, and Humphrey back then he was actually pretty fucking sick. He got a really he was real violent and he got out of a high temper, and I was like, oh, perfect. I need that aggression, and it just worked out perfectly. And I showed him when I was working on it, and he just fucking hit the floor. He goes, oh my God, that's awesome. And he was able to pull off extra riffs with it. And then I was just like, God damn, dude, this is perfect. So we end up getting a practice place outside of right when you come into San Antonio, outside of Universal City, right, Ross?
Oh yeah, man, that was
like a steel building. It was awesome, and so we had to pad the steel building. So we crammed the drummer back there in the back. We
built a riser, man.
Yeah, we built a little riser, and we threw all of our
shit, really? There. Wow.
And so we first started practice with Staffney, the drummer. I was when you said something about the sticks, and he would use these big fucking sticks. He wouldn't just use the fucking sticks; he'd use the back ends. Because I remember after a couple of our practice, it looked like a wood kindling panel, pile back there in the back of the drums. Because he kept going through so many sticks, there was like wood everywhere and fucking shit all over the floor. And I said, "What the fuck are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I'm using these fucking, these huge sticks." And I'm like, "Well, all right, well, whatever you're doing, keep it up, because that sounds fucking good." And he would be back there with combat boots, no shirt on, with his fucking tongue hanging out when I was trying to hit these fast parts. I was going, "Dude, you got to go faster. No, you got to go faster. That's got to be heavier. You got to hit it harder." And he was like, "God damn, John's treating me like a fucking dog, man." I'm like, "That's right."
Well, it's going to be double bass through everything. Just everything was double bassed. Yeah. Nope. And
the poor guy, he didn't get as much credit as he should have got on the rehearsal demo. But like I said, it was just a rehearsal, a recording of a fucking rehearsal in a steel building, right? And,
well, that worked out.
Is obvious.
I mean, that was another one of those things that just worked out perfectly.
But if you hear his drums in there, you can hear him doing all this rolls and shit like this. So the poor guy didn't get the due that he was deserved, So he was actually pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the whole hit. Before we came on, I was telling Ross this attack has to me just this pounding aggression that it's unrelenting.
Yeah. So he was a kind of a crazy aggressive redneck, and there's so many stories about this guy. It's not even funny. And he was.
Oh yeah, he could not keep it in control,
redneck
man.
From hell. And
he could not keep anything in control, man.
Oh yeah.
No, he was excess all the way. Drugs.
A little bit of that was chemical driven, but
whatever. And, yeah. And then we had Scott, and Scott was already this little aggressive fucking dude, right? And then we had you and me, and I would break strings left and right on my guitar.
Yeah,
because I would hit the fucking riff.
Remember the night we
guitar, I was popping strings left and right.
This is like fucking testosterone, just fucking overdoses.
So one night, man, we decided we needed to have a band outing, And it was Dark Angel, right? Dark Angel was playing a show. I think Rotting Corpse was opening.
The El Conquistador here in San Antonio?
Yeah, and they were playing, right? So we decided, we're going to go watch these guys play.
I vaguely remember you guys showing up there.
And we're out there, we're trying to be kind of cool and casual, out in line, waiting to come in. And John and I are like, thrashing into each other, man, beating around, but we're keeping everything within limits,
Sure.
But not Scott. Scott can't keep anything within the limits, man. And I wasn't watching. I should have been looking. And all of a sudden, man, he drops a shoulder and just plows into me.
Oh, shit.
I cannot stop. I don't have time to brace. I knock into John. John and I inside, which shoots us into the door, onto the table where they're taking the money and the tickets. And it collapses the table. Just boom, and there's money and tickets and stuff laying all over the place, man.
Making a grand entrance.
Oh,
already.
yeah.
There
it's
you go.
just, and, we're laying there on the table, and I guess the guy who was, taking money gets a little upset. And he starts calling for security. And security comes running over there. And at this time, I'm still trapped on the ground because Scott, he's
kind of tuck you out.
Yeah, he's trying to take me out for some reason. And all of a sudden, here comes these like 3 or 4 guys from security. And they come running over there. And then, John does this, hey. And everybody looks up. And Scott pops up. And, about that time, they decided maybe they didn't want to come over there and say too much to us.
They weren't going to fuck with it. We had a bad reputation back then. We were not only the aggression, but I mean, I'm over 6 foot, and then Staffney's over 6 foot, and you're a big dude, and and we're all pumping iron. And when they saw us popping up, we were just like, "What's the problem?" But
that's only the beginning of the story, man.
Yeah. Oh, there's more.
Yeah. So that's right. So tell me about the fact that the Dark Angel, the fucking vocalist, never to show up.
Right, and they.
I remember that. That sucked.
So they came out there and they were trying to do this,
Gene was trying to sing, right?
Yeah, and they were trying to shame us for the behavior.
That I don't really.
And then they were doing that, oh man, blah 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 blah, and they were trying to shame us about the behavior. We don't have to play, etc. And Scott Staffney, man, there's this little pause during the speech, and Scott Staffney just yells out, "Hey man, let Necrovore play!"
Oh,
and then all of a sudden, everything's like, "Yeah, dude, let Necrovore play. Yeah, let them play, man." And you're thinking, "Oh, shit."
Yeah, we had the whole fucking audience chanting Necrovore. Yeah, Necrovore. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden they decide, somebody else can sing for them. It'll be okay.
No, it probably would have been legendary if Necrovore played.
Actually, Hoagland ended up pulling off the vocals. He did
a pretty good job, man.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was actually really fucking cool, yeah.
And didn't the singer show up like at the end of the show when it was over in the parking lot? I kind of remember Don.
Yep, that's right.
And he was like wasted, right, already? And I was like,
I don't remember. It's just one of those great stories about Scott because he could never keep anything. He could never keep anything in bounds, man. I mean, if you were in a thrash pit, you had to watch that dude.
One of those guys.
Yeah, because he would.
Yeah.
Well, you, me,
not
and him,
maliciously.
You, me, and him would clear a fucking thrash pit because we would have these mock battles in the fucking thrash pit. Like we would pretend like no one knew who we were, and we didn't we didn't know each other. And then we would just break into these huge fights, throwing each other all over the fucking equipment and everything else. Then we'd jump up and go, yeah, and then everybody like, oh, they know each other's assholes.
Yeah, Scott just could never keep that, in check, man. So you'd always leave.
He would get out of control. It was like, all right, dude,
you'd always leave, man, beat up, bruised, and you're going, God, come on, dude. We're friends, man, friends.
Scott Staffney sounds like a guy you would want in your corner. I agree with that.
You always wanted Scott Staffney with you, man. He was insane. I mean, there's just no doubt.
So let's go to the band set. How long does it take you guys to decide you want to record this rehearsal demo?
You go on with that one, or?
Yeah, and I want you to start it.
Okay. This is another one of those things that you're going to just, everything works out perfectly. Right? So we didn't do any special practice. We didn't say anything big about it. It was just, we said, hey man, let's do a recording next time. Okay. And I said, hey, I know this guy that does sound recording and boards and stuff. And, let's go get him to help us. So John and I go out and we run down Walter Carter. And Walter's got, he's got his board, he got this 4-track machine and stuff. And he says, yeah, I'd love to help you guys out.
Hey, 4-track machines were like kind of badass back then. Dude. I was like,
that's analog 4-track, right?
Yeah.
And John had a full PA system.
Okay.
So we had the full PA system, all our amps and everything. And we just went out there one night, practicing, and just Walter came out with us and we recorded.
And made a legendary demo.
Yeah,
but it wasn't even in the tent. You guys were just like, "Hey, let's record practice."
Yeah, so we kind of like briefly discussed it before. So I'm going to summarize what you just said, Ross. So we kind of briefly discussed this before because we were practicing, and we were getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I said, and because I was kind of a perfectionist, and I was like, I wanted to get ready for a first show. And Ross told me, he goes, "Hey man, I know this guy who can record, and he wants to, I used to work with the dude before, and I want to bring him over to do some recording." And I was already thinking, we're going to need to get ready to go into the studio because I wanted to start getting practice with separating everything and go, before we blew our money to go into the studio. So that's when he shows up with Walter Carter. And I was like, and that's where we threw him, a special thanks on the demo for Walter Carter. And he comes in and there's this metal building and we separated everything and it just worked out perfectly. And in the leads, we just spit them right there on the spot. And the vocals, I just did a baseline vocal track on it. I didn't try to, because we just wanted to hear what it sounded like. And then after everything was done, it just worked out perfect. We pulled those leads just right out of our ass. We already kind of had an idea what we were going to do on the lead work. We already knew what my vocal pattern was going to be on all the songs. And it just fell just perfectly in place,
Was anything overdubbed or was it like just live, like the whole recording live?
Everything was just live.
Most of the guitars, drums, everything were live, and then we overdubbed the leads, remember?
The vocals,
the vocals, and then we added the intro later. And there was a guy in Austin who helped me out with the little intro.
Yeah, I forget about that since I wasn't around for the vocals. Yeah. That was,
So you got all
the
that.
Vocalist had to be back there special. And
yeah, I had a question. What was your gear back then? Like, what were you playing? What type of pedals, guitars, amps? Just, because I know a couple of the gearheads want to know these answers.
Well, I had the full. I purposely went out and bought a 100-watt 1975 model Marshall. I think it was a Plexi. And then because they had a real thicker sound and you can modify them back then in the day. And I had some dude up in Austin says he knows a guy who can do the modify the preamp section so I can get it thicker. And it turns out and I didn't know who the guy was. And it turned out it was Lee Jackson. He was up in Austin. And he did the modification on my head. And I was like, okay, who's Lee Jackson? I don't know who the fuck that is. And yeah, sure, man. And so I had the full stack of Marshalls with my head, with the effects loop built into it, and then the whole preamp section built. And I had some pedals and stuff like that. And the other guitars had Marshall set up. And then he was using a solid state head, right, Ross? Or was he using
he was using a solid state.
And Ross had, tell him about your rig.
What were you playing?
Man, so I had a 300-watt Carvin stack, biamp system, 412s with EVs on the top, and a single 18 on the bottom.
God.
It had I had a studio compressor, complete EV system running through it, and everything was already built into the amp. So I ordered it custom from Carvin.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, damn.
Yeah, I told him he needed to thicken it up, and I said, let's throw that 18 in there. He goes, well, I don't know, man. You think it'll be muddy? I'm like, who gives a fuck? Just add it. We'll make it.
Well, that was a damn, but it really sounded good. Plus, and I was playing through I had a Washburn B20 Stage Series bass that was custom built, had the neck was all cut down, fit my hands.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I got it from Alamo Music Center back in the day.
The one downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I'm gonna jump just a little ahead just for my part because I saw you guys practice back in the day when you were jamming at Javier's. And I went to some band practices before and this and that. When I saw you guys play at practice, I was like, holy fuck, this is loud as a motherfucker. And I was like, I was trying to play it cool, but I was fucking blown the fuck away, I was like, shit. And I remember that PA system because when John did the scream, and I was like, it felt like to me the whole fucking Hobbs little garage was going to explode because it's just like so fucking intense. So this was all that gear you guys had, right? Back then?
Yeah, and then we just kept adding to it, and then Hob, when we finally got Hob, he added to that set. He had that really cool Tama set. But another story about that little metal building we were in before we totally insulated it and tried to cut down on some of that fucking noise. It was we didn't have carpet or insulation on some of the walls of the steel building, and I would never clip my fucking strings because I was busting them so fast because I would come down and hit the riff so heavy. You know, I'd pop the strings all the time. So I had these long strings sticking off the back, and so did Daphne. And,
I forgot you got like to kill yourself.
Yeah, I remember we fucking backed into the fucking steel building, and then I think Daphne's fucking strings made contact with it, and these sparks go flying out of his fucking amp, and we're like, bam, and it just burns the fucker right up. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's insulate this motherfucker now.
Yeah, I remember that. Then we went out to the dumpster, man, and got carpet and carpeted all the walls, and then spray painted the Necrovore's
logos
emblem and stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we never had that problem. Nobody caught on fire after that.
So when did you guys decide you're going to do like start playing shows, and what shows did you guys actually play? I know the 2 San Antonio shows. Were there other shows? Or I know there were supposed to be Austin shows. Did those happen? Or
yeah, we got together with Cyrenax and some other guys out of Austin, but some of that stuff really kind of fell through. But we ended up going up there and playing like over at Steve's or something like that, and almost like a party, and people would come over and shit like that. And it would turn into a practice. You know what I mean?
Like backyard style
shit and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
okay.
In fact, and you were talking about the name, so let's go over this.
Yeah.
After we released, and I'll step back into after we got that recording, the whole idea was, let's listen to ourselves and see what we sound together to make sure we're not all diluting ourselves and this shit actually sounds heavy. So after Walter kind of finishes his little mix down and burn down together, he shows it to us, and we're like, God damn, that's actually not too bad. But I already knew what we could work on and what we could polish up, because you could hear all the bleed over and all that shit, which was pretty badass. But I wanted Scott's drums to come out better and all this shit like that. So Ruben Luna was in contact with us the whole time, from Hogwild, and he says, and I wanted to hear Ruben's fucking comments on this, because we recorded it and we were really stoked. And I was like, God damn, this sounds really fucking good, but we can make it even better. And I said, I want to hear what Ruben has to say about this, And Ruben at the time was the head of college radio in San Antonio. He also had a college radio station. So I gave him a copy of it. I didn't know he was going to release this on college radio.
We all heard it. That's what me.
That night, it was like, and I was like, motherfucker, the shit's out the bat. And then after that, some radio out of Toronto up in Canada, Blaspheme Radio, released it too. So I guess he sent it out to them. And then he also sent it to Art Shock. Remember that, Ross? And
yeah, man.
Art Shock, the zine.
Oh yeah, they did a little special on Necrovore there in the Art Shock America.
And they had the pictures from the abandoned insane asylum in the back of it.
I don't have a copy of that. I wouldn't know anybody that does.
I got the pictures. I can send some out sometime. So
they had us on the playlist rated above. Who's that guy? Can't think of the name of the band that come up with the album right there. Anthrax.
Oh, you're above Anthrax.
Yeah, they had us rated above Anthrax. Like we were number 3 must-listen new release.
Yeah, because Ruben, I remember I used to listen to Ruben's show, and he played it. Me and Chris Sargent, and Chris Sargent, call each other like, this fucking band's from here in this area? No fucking way.
Right?
So we went down to Hogs and had to find out what was going on from Ruben. And then I think he was like saying, you're going to be releasing a demo and this and that. And I think it was one of those things probably where we kept bugging them every weekend that the demo came in. So how long did it take from that to get the demo made and all that?
Well, after he releases it on college radio and it goes over to college fucking Canada, and then those guys release it they copy it all over to the fucking East Coast, and there's guys on the East Coast getting hold of us all of a sudden, and he's hitting everybody up, and then so we're already like, well, fuck, the cat's out of the bag now. So and so me and Ross talked about it, and I said, well, fuck, let's go ahead and treat this as like a kind of a demo, but let's hurry up and get to the studio. And I remember in the meantime, we went up to Austin, and I went to a huge party up in Austin, and Felix was there from DRI. And we don't have a name for the band yet. It's not called Necrovore yet.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that at that
Yeah,
point. You didn't
and,
have a name yet.
No. And then I let Felix, and Felix listens to it, and he goes, "Fuck this! Let's put this on the PA so the guys here at the party, because this was a huge place where DRI was at." And he blasts it, and then everybody's like, "God damn!" And like Felix is like, "Yeah, man, these dudes are like a bunch of fucking Necrovores, right?" And I was like, "Necrovore, yeah, there you go." So I got the name from
awesome.
Felix, you know. So I was like, "There we go. There's the name."
So we're stuck with this problem, which is we need to make copies of this tape, and we don't have any equipment to make copies of tapes. So one day, John and I, we get this brilliant idea. And we just start driving around San Antonio to all these like Radio Shacks and Best Buys. And we go in and give them the, "Hi, what do you have for tape dubbing machines? We would like to look at them." And we'd go in there and stick a tape in it, dub it real quick. And we'd dub as many as they let us dub, and then they'd kick us out. And we'd go to the next store and dub a bunch of them. And
that's how you got your dubs done?
That's how we originally got enough of them to start sending out.
"Oh, we want to check this recording out, sir, and we can see how well it sounds." And we ended up doing a whole shit ton of them.
Yeah, and then I think eventually we had to break down and buy. We eventually broke down and had to buy one.
Yeah.
Oh, the first show. So how did we get to the first show? Goddamn. So you may have to help me out with this one, Ross. But
shit, I don't remember, man.
So I kind of got out. Some promoter, I think, got a hold of Ruben, and then Ruben let us know that there was a place that they were going to have that show at downtown in San Antonio.
The Cameo, right?
Yeah.
Cameo. And I said, "Yeah, fuck, sign us up, no problem." You know,
Friday the 13th, it was a full moon.
Yeah, it was on your birthday, right? I didn't.
Yeah, it was my birthday. It was a full moon out Friday the 13th.
Your birthday's Friday the 13th?
14th, but yeah.
Okay, well that's close. Damn, all right.
And so because I was going to Southwest Texas at the time, and that's hanging out with Reagan, who was the girlfriend for the Fearless Iranians. She was dating one of the guys in Fearless.
That's the same Reagan that worked at Hogwild?
I don't know.
Wow, that would be wild. But, all right, anyway.
Yeah, there's many stories about that, right? The whole punk scene and the hardcore scene.
So we were hanging out with the punk scene there at, Southwest Texas, and I don't remember. They just invited us to play.
Yeah, so that was a big bill, right? And we didn't.
Oh yeah, because it was crippled CBS
on there.
Fearless Iranians from Hell was like San Antonio's biggest punk band.
Yeah,
I think they were on the bill too. The Militia was on the bill too.
There were like so many bands on that bill.
It was a mixed show. So this is you guys' first show.
And the guys, what was it, from Legacy? Yeah, that was the ones. Yeah, I remember the guys from Legacy. We were getting ready to
Legacy, right?
Yeah, we were getting ready to go on stage, and that's what the dudes for Legacy were complaining.
We didn't headline, nor did we have the intention on headlining. I didn't care, so just stick us somewhere. And they put us close to the end, right before Fearless and I think CBS, right?
Yeah.
And then the rest was history, right? They opened up with a fucking demo. We pull all this fucking equipment out there. They weren't expecting us, so we pull all this fucking equipment out there, and then there's some dude that goes up there with our demo tape for the intro. He goes, "Hey, let me take this over."
Walter. We brought Walter to do the sound.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, we brought Walter to do the sound on our first show.
Yeah, so he wanted to make sure everything was right. So we pull all this equipment out. By this time, we transition over to Javier as the drummer. So that's a whole other story how we got into that. But I ain't going to get into it now. But so we got Javier on the first show, not Staffney. And
Jav did a great job on that show.
Staffney was on the recording. Yeah, he did.
And this is the show that everybody sees on the internet now and all.
That show too, though, that was a classic Necrovore attitude. So we showed up, and there's this little tiny dressing room, right? So we just move all our stuff into the dressing room. There's stuff in there, we just throw it out. Move all of our stuff into the dressing room.
Okay.
And then when everybody, they come around, and they're like, "Well, hey," and we're like, "No, man, this is our area." And they're like, "What?" And we're like, "No, this is ours. You got to go."
I don't even remember doing that. We just took it over, right?
Yeah, we just took it over, ran everybody out, shut the door.
In there, and then everybody just stood out and went, "All right, fine, I'll use the shitter." I mean,
Yeah, so we were backstage, had a place to get dressed.
Pulling in more equipment, more shit, and then all of a sudden everybody had to just kind of get out. And,
and then we were originally trying to get our stuff on stage, and then I don't know who they were. I don't know where they came from. They just started helping us.
That was at the end, right?
Oh yeah, that was. I guess that was at the end when it turned down.
The demo fucking starts in. They start in with a fucking intro on the demo, and we walk out. The whole lights are down, everything else, and we're all in fucking nails and headband, nail bands and shit. I made our own gear,
I wanted to get into that too, like what the gear and all that, but
I counted all that shit out, and I.
Oh yeah, and then
we had
you're getting ready for this
nail bands on our fucking arms trying to play guitar, but
you're getting ready for that Sons of Satan, right?
Yeah, and then
that was so awesome.
That was you. I didn't even remember hearing that. You did, and
that was so awesome. We're getting ready to play, and we're hiding behind the amps, waiting for the intro to play.
Yeah,
we'll jump out right when the lights come up.
We step out right before the intro ended, and then the fucking lights came up, and then that's when I break into Mutilated Death Scream.
It gets
that's when right before I did that, they ended the thing, and you said you heard some guy out there screaming the Sons of Satan and shit like that. And
real quiet, and that one voice come out there and went, Sons of Satan!
Yeah.
You're going, man, this is going to be a fantastic show.
Well, the cool thing there was when I first, and Ross saw all this, because you see how I sing in my vocal style. I kind of lean my head back and scream, and I constrain my vocal cords. And I can't really see everyone in front of me, because I don't really, I'm in my own zone at that point. And when I open up in that scream and we just start, this wall of fucking guitars comes flying out of these fucking amps and these high gain amps, and we're just fucking, and then Walters, he's not going to hold back. He's going to crank us the fuck up.
Yeah.
All said, there was like this kind of a sparse crowd, and all these guys that were, because they had so many bands there was a lot of people that were already outside just smoking and waiting and going, well, we never heard of these guys, and who the fuck are they? All of a sudden it just blasts, and all these people come cruising back in and just fill the fucking place up, and they're like, holy fuck, who the fuck are these guys? And I was like, and I didn't know anything about this because I can't see, I'm not even paying attention to the crowd. I'm like totally in my own world, when I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Ross told me all about this later, because at the end of the set when we came off, they fucking went just freaking the fuck out. And we came off, everybody was like grabbing our equipment and everything, and we're going back to our dressing room, and they're all loading up and, oh, we got this, dude, we gotta take care of this. And I was like,
apparently, man, there was a fight. Apparently there was a fight at the end of the show, because the band that came on after us, was supposed to be like headlining stuff.
Yeah.
And the crowd was still, hey, Necrovore, out there screaming, man.
Yeah.
And the guy in the band got in an argument with the guys in the pit, and a fight broke out.
Yeah. So we did 7 or 8 songs. So we did the 4-song demo, and then we did some other things that we wrote. And we already had those pretty much worked out, but they weren't perfect. But we mixed them in with the set, and it worked out perfect on that set.
So then your next show was at Club Oasis.
Yep.
And how what are your thoughts on that show? That was the Devastation Bloodspill show. That was a more straight up just death metal thrash, I guess, bill for that.
Yeah, that was several months later, right, Ross?
Yeah, that's a show, man. I shouldn't have went on stage that night. There's no way I should have.
We got mixed feelings about it, and we've heard mixed response about it, because first of all, they didn't have a good PA system there. They had this piece of shit there. And
we didn't get a chance to do a sound check.
And there was no monitors. You couldn't hear yourself. Well, we didn't get to do a sound check. Walter wasn't there to work with us. I don't know what happened with that. And I didn't really think much about it, I guess, but we looked good when we came online. And some people that said they heard the show said it was great. And the other people heard it said it wasn't so hot, because you could see that we weren't kind of synced up. And that had a lot to do with the sound and the PA system. So anybody plays in bands and knows about
for
that.
Sure.
Exactly what the fuck we're talking about.
If you can't hear, if you don't have monitors, that's always horrible, especially playing live, because you can't hear everybody else.
And if one guitar gets out of tune with you, and you don't have those tuners with you at that point, and they're in tune and you're in tune, but you're both like a half a step off or some shit like that.
Yeah,
it's gonna sound weird,
I was at the show. I don't remember it being like terrible.
Yeah, but see, here we are. I'm always the worst critic. I'm like, he knows I'm a complete fucking insane Nazi about our shit.
No kidding, right?
Saying everything. Hey, you didn't hit that beat right. You didn't come off with that one step. Blah blah blah. And I was like screaming at people, and they're all like, "God damn, this dude treats us like shit and like a dog." And I'm like, "Well, it ain't meant like that. I mean, I'm fucking passionate about it. You got to be passionate about it. You got to fucking do this right, So I was never satisfied with anything,
Well, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a little bit of credit, man. Basically, it was just when we were dragging ass at practice that you jumped everybody.
Yeah,
If we were actually kicking ass and doing what we needed to do, it was great. But every now and then you just don't want to practice, and you're tired and you're just dragging and
kind of playing it by numbers.
Yeah, and then John would never let that shit go.
Yeah. So if we
that could never happen.
Yeah, and bringing girls over and all that shit to our practice and trying to make it a party, I wasn't into that. I was like, get these fucking
kick them out.
Serious times.
That caused a lot of hard feelings.
Yeah, because everybody would want to bring these hot chicks over and stuff like that, and they're like, let's make it a party, meet these girls, and there's another girls who want to meet you, and I'm like, no, that's not black enough. Get them out of here. We got to fucking practice. There's like a sacrifice here.
Oh man, hey, I've got to say this while we're on now. We got to go this. If you happen to be a female that hung out at 455 Barcelona Drive, in the 80s, call me. Leave a comment here in the section, right?
He's gonna be looking for him. He's gonna track you down, right?
Oh, hey man, that was I don't even know if we should go into any of those stories at this point, but
we'll save them. We'll save them.
Yeah, so we'll save those, but
Javier did a really good job of pulling off a lot of the stuff that after Staffney left. And it was too bad because we had hard feelings about Staffney having to leave. What happened was he got in trouble and his folks ended up moving up to Michigan or someplace up there. And then he's tried to stick around and he did whatever he could to stick around. And he finally just said, hey, man, I can't just live out of my fucking truck, but he tried.
Well, not only that, I mean, he was going to be on probation after he got out of, jail, prison, etc.
Yeah.
So he had other issues he had to deal with, basically.
Yeah.
So he could.
And he needed his family support, so he couldn't stick around here with us.
Yeah, so we went searching all over San Antonio for a drummer, and then I think Louis helped us out. Louis, what's Louis' last name again?
Louis Carsalas?
Yeah, he tried to help us out, and I think he knew Javier.
Yeah, they were high school friends.
Yeah, and we knew the band that they were in, and I heard them before, and I said, we'll check them out, because I asked Louis to do it. And I said, hey, Louis, why don't you help us out? And he said, well, fuck, I already got a band here, you know what I mean? I can't do that, but I know this other guy, and it just worked out.
I think Hell Preacher just broke up, so it kind of worked out for you guys.
Yeah, and plus we had a place to practice, and the bad thing is we had to move out of the metal building, and we had to drive all the way to Calabria from New Braunfels.
Yeah.
But
that's a drive.
Holy hell, dude! We were going about 30 miles one way.
He was in the deep west side, so yeah. Not only then you had to turn down that road and go forever and ever and ever down that. Yeah, that's a long drive for you guys.
Anyway, you mentioned something about when we released the first thing, how it didn't have this sound. It was like totally different than what anything from San Antonio heard and all this shit like that. And that was the cool thing about being from New Braunfels. As I was right between Austin, right between San Antonio. San Antonio back in the time had this kind of odd melodic tone. It was like a really good metal. There were some great guitarists, but it was all melodic. They keep going to these weird melodic riffs and shit. And I was like, it's not bad, but it's not really. And then Austin, on the other hand, had that fucking technical guitar playing, where everybody's like trying to compete with each other, and they're doing arpeggios and riffing and stuff, and they're just all these breaks and everything's technical. And I think a couple bands up there were driving that. And so we were kind of in between. I said, I don't want to have anything to do with this. I don't want to have anything to do with this. We can borrow from it. But I said, I want to keep this European sound. I like the fact that we're from New Braunfels. New Braunfels is like New Braunfels, Germany. You know what I mean? Let's keep this European tone. Let's keep it dark and heavy. And let's just try to distance ourselves a little bit from that, so it doesn't, impact us too much.
So, to get into that, were you guys, you said you knew Steve Cooper and all them. Were you like SA Slayer fans or Watchtower fans, or was it just more like at this point you guys are on to obviously heavier shit?
Yeah. I actually I saw the show of SA Slayer and LA Slayer at Via Fontana downtown. Yeah. I was at that show, and that's when Slayer was in all their glory, pushing Show No Mercy, and they were had all their nil bands, everything. Kerry King had his
that show was a big impact on me as well.
Yeah, ditto. I thought it was like an awesome show. They pulled it off fucking perfectly. Actually, SA Slayer did a great job. I heard that they were friends. They weren't really just competing. They just came out there and just stormed. But but Slayer did a great job, and I was like, God damn, it's actually pretty fucking good. And you remember what the Via Fontana, if you were there, they had that
Yeah.
cool atrium that went up 2 stories. You could be
Yep.
up either on the top or
You could
on
be
the
up on the
bottom.
balcony part, checking it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking sick.
Yeah, Slayer they still had remember those inverted cross lights that you see on the back of Showman?
Yep.
Yeah, they had those things lighting up too. It was,
Yeah, and that's when King would come out with his full nail bands and shit. Both of them were, him and Hanneman.
Yeah, they were total leather and spikes, and yeah, I think that, like, for me, that show kind of brought in the whole new fucking heavier world to San Antonio metal, because it was like SA Slayer and Watchtower and all that. Then LA Slayer shows up, and it was just like, hey man, you guys are great, but this is where everybody wants to go now. That's my feeling.
I did really like when Cry for the King.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the name of the band all of a sudden.
Liquid Sky?
Yeah, Liquid Sky. I really liked when Liquid Sky did Cry for the King.
Yeah, that was
like
Cooper,
John said.
He had a real haunty voice on that. I like that.
Yeah. But like John said, though, it was still too melodic for what we were wanting.
But there was things we liked in it. You know what I mean? Like for Cracker the King, where they're singing those haunty. It's a basic tone, but I mean, if it's got this haunty fucking rhythm, these haunty vocals, and I was like, oh man, it's got a good feel to it.
Yeah, it's a great song.
So
it has the atmosphere.
We borrowed and grabbed things, as we saw fit, like, okay, I like this tone, I don't like that tone, I like the speed, I like this power crunch, I like these breaks, I like,
I can't really pinpoint what you guys, sounded like, because you didn't sound like Slayer, you didn't sound like Morbid Angel, you didn't sound anything. You guys really were just creating your own sound. But who were you guys, like, bands? Was it just like Sodom, Hellhammer, and Celtic Frost and all that? Is that what you're mainly jamming back then, or what? Or maybe I'm wrong. What is the case?
Go ahead. Go. Okay, now, okay. Me personally, you got to understand. At this point, I was the doom rock was, I guess, the genre that I was really into. I liked more slow, powerful. If you want commercial bands, oh come on, man, Sabbath.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love early Sabbath, NIB and stuff, and that for me that was where I was at. Bands, Hellhammer. I like Hellhammer. I like Frost. So it was more of the power stuff that I was really into.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I started when I was a little kid with Masters of Reality. And I bled that into my brain, and many, many fucking hours of fucking marijuana and lots of fucking pot, and then guitar playing, and then the whole dark feeling of Masters of Reality. And then after that, I just kept searching for heavier stuff, and I was into the tape training and going to record stops looking for the import section, because there was nothing. It really wasn't as much tape trading at that point as imports. So you had to pick up imports, take a chance, and go, well, the album cover looks cool. Maybe it's actually heavy. It says, it has pentagrams on it, shit like that. Maybe it's actually heavy. So you were taking a chance. And then once you finally got into this scene, then you were able to get all this stuff. So I listened to that, and I liked Voivod because they were different, but they were still kind of that technical thing. And when I was in Austin, I knew the guys from Watch Hour because me and Jason had a place together. So a whole bunch of us guys lived together, but I got into Bathory, I got into Venom, I got into Celtic Frost and Hellhammer. Then I got into, of course, I listened to some Possessed. I liked Seven Churches Possessed. As a matter of fact, Possessed, I really liked what they did on the first thing, and I thought that they stumbled onto a sound that they didn't totally capitalize on. And it almost made me feel like it was like an accident, because they came into these weird riffs that would pop and get disharmonic and go into somewhere else. And they were just so bizarre, but so heavy at the same time. I was like, okay, they were onto a formula here that when I heard the second thing, I didn't feel like they totally got that. So,
yeah, that's what I felt about Morbid Angel. That first.
Now, I didn't hear about Morbid until after the fact.
Right. I was in that first demo for Morbid Angel.
Uh-huh.
I like that first demo.
Yeah, and I did listen to some Slayer, but it was like Slayer 1, Show No Mercy, and I liked Haunting the Chapel. And
I like Haunting the Chapel.
Then I kind of went off on my own, because they seemed like they were getting a little more commercial, even though there's nothing wrong with Hello H. There was some good shit in there. And of course, I listened to Dark Angel, and I listened to all that shit from on the West Coast. I listened to Dark Angel, Exodus, and all that shit like that. But I kind of didn't like totally that tone that they were put together on the West Coast. But it helped. But I did get good ideas from there, and I met great people from on the East, on that West Coast. Like I met Autopsy and all those guys after we got the fucking demo out. And
What was the name
really
of the band?
cool fuckers out there.
Nihilist
from Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then when we got so that helped, and I was listening to Destruction and Creator and all that other stuff too. You know what I mean? And then, so it was all that European, and I really kind of favored the European the sounds at that time because they were having these cool breaks, good song structures, good power sections, you know. And there was no fucking Norwegian scene at the time, by the way. And
oh yeah, that's not
it was all out of Germany, Belgium, Holland, France, you know, that whole area.
Man, we were hitting Poland.
We hit it later, yeah.
We used to get fan mail from Poland like nobody's business, and you're going, who knew?
Were they still communists at the time?
I don't know. Who knew that there was a scene in Poland, man?
Yeah. Poland still rules to this day.
Russia.
Yeah, so we were getting a whole bunch of that stuff.
So,
yes,
now.
Yeah, so when we finally get the demo out, and it finally got, well, not the demo, the rehearsal tape finally goes all over the place. And like I said, because Blaspheme up in Canada was over on the East Coast in that area, pushing that out. Next thing I know, I'm hearing from Immolation, and I got Immolation sent me their fucking demo tape, that 4-song demo. And I was like, oh man, this is fucking great. And then I just met all these guys. That's when we got hooked up with Incantation and all those other guys that were all trying to do this. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And they all got their own sound out there too, you know, that whole Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York area. And then they sent out Morbid's Thy Kingdom Come demo. You know, they didn't have an album out, and that's when we got hooked up with them. And then next thing you know, there was this huge rivalry between us and Morbid because we were like, yeah, I heard it was different. You know, and I heard Trey's riffs, and I was like, this is different, you know, but, you know, fuck that. It's not as heavy as it could be, you know. And, you know,
the problem I had with Morbid Angel,
I really thought that way, you know.
They thought that they were morbid when you would talk to them. Like, they thought they really thought that they knew something in the occult.
Yeah, that was David, right? He was the one with the...
Yeah, they really thought they knew something, and I thought they were pretty full of shit. So, you know, it was the conflict of, you know, hey, you're
talking, but
you're just pretending. You don't really know what you think. You don't think you know what you know.
I thought Trey had really good riffs, and I thought he had good vision on that.
Oh yeah, I wasn't attacking their music.
I know that, but I'm
talking
from my perspective. So
yeah.
And when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is really fucking good. He's got great ideas. And I kind of wish it was a little bit more, you know, raw primal power in there. But he had good riff changes that were bizarre. And I heard a lot of his ideas and a lot of stuff he was talking about. And we were already hip on the literature and all the ideas that were driving a lot of this music, you know, because we're all reading the same stuff. We're all influenced by similar ideas, you know, just a little bit different depending on your region. And this is when they had Mike Browning at the time. And I met fucking Mike Browning when I went out there and stayed with Morbid for a while. I hooked up with Mike Browning. And I thought Mike Browning was a good vocalist, and I thought he was a good drummer, you know. And when they got Pete, that guy, Pete Sandoval, Pete could not play blast drum. He could not fucking do double bass. All he had was a single bass. And he would hit his fucking snare, bah, 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 you know, and they just said, nope, you know, you're going to have to change this. You're going to have to go double bass, and let's try to get this faster. So I was out there for that whole thing. In fact, me and Morbid had a house together before they even got signed. After Necrovore kind of disbanded, I went and hung out with him for a while. And that's when I met the dude from fucking Earache. And he was trying to make a decision to sign them or hook up with Immolation, and I was pushing Immolation. I was like, man, dude, you got to pick up Immolation, you know. And then David was like, no, just put all your resources into us. And, oh shit, you know. Anyway, that's how that went.
Yeah, see, I told you, John, wrote all the songs, so he was the guy that had the musical knowledge with everything.
So he's hearing the Thy Kingdom Come demo, and
and then they're working on the new thing, you know, before they went into, and this is when they still had those Sun amps, and I show up over there, and they're in Daytona Beach, and I show up in Daytona just out of nowhere, and I'm banging on the door, bam, 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 and I have all my equipment in the thing, and this is after I went out to Los Angeles. That's a whole nother story. I was out in LA for a while, and then I drove all the way across country, and then hooked up with them, and I'm sitting there banging on the door, and then David answers the door, and, hey, and he's like, hey, what do you want? Hey, I'm John from Necrovore, and he's like, and then he said, I said. He's like, oh, fuck, man, come on in.
This is unannounced. You're just showing up.
Unannounced, but they showed up. In fact, he's told the story many times. He goes, dude, I just answered the door, and there's this dude with all his hair in his face all the way down and this brooding voice. Hey, I'm John from Necrovore. I'm here.
Awesome.
And I'm like, and it just the rest was history. I stayed with him, and I rented the basement. And the whole basement, it was like below ground level, all basically a dirt floor with all this shit, and we kind of partitioned it where they had all their fucking music equipment. And they were playing on those Sun fucking amps with those, and they were so committed to, oh no, we got our sound with our Sun amps, and they had these huge pedal boards with the Sun amp, and I came in there with all these fucking Marshalls, and they're upstairs listening to the radio. I mean, not to the TV, going, okay, we're listening to TV. And I'm down there riffing on new stuff from Necrovore, and I'm just, bam, it's hitting it heavy as fucking shit. It's shaking the goddamn floor. And they're coming down there, and then they fucking come down. They're like, hey, man, can you kind of turn that down? You're drowning out the whole fucking house, And so when they finally go to more sound, I said, you guys need to use a thicker fucking sound. I mean, so that fucking Sun sound is just too shallow, When they finally go to more sound goes, what the fuck are you using Sun amps for? Here, use these Marshalls, thicken it up. And ever since then, they went to Marshall,
So wait, did they use your amps to record with?
No. They had that was all over they already had that at More Sound. They had all that stuff. They just
but you're the one that told them ditch these and you need them.
Yeah, and they were like, no, that ain't gonna work. And it took More Sound to kind of tell them, what the fuck are you using Sun amps for? We're gonna have to use these Marshalls. We got some over here.
Yeah, okay, that's a good call.
So later on, I told David, yep, see, I told you so, dude. So
let's backtrack a little. What like, I guess, put Necrovore on ice, because obviously the band wasn't active, or what were the situations that happened, if you guys want to discuss that?
Well, go ahead and start, Ross.
Yeah, well, I think the first nail in that coffin was we lost our drummer.
And that's Staffney.
And the Staffney, you're going, man.
Your original drummer.
Yeah, you're going, Staffney, he brought so much to everything. And we tried, man, I wanted it to work out. But he got himself in some legal trouble. He couldn't stay. We lost Staffney, and that was an issue.
It was like I said right off the bat, how Staffney had all that power and all that aggression. And you can feel that when somebody has that kind of mindset and they're not trying to fake it, you can feel that. You can feel it coming out in the music. Music captures all that emotion, all that fucking back energy, all that fucking psychological, whatever you want to call it. And he had it. There's no doubt about it. And that's not taken away from Hob. Hob did a great job. And
no, I'm not trying to take away from
He was more technical, and he had really good changes and stuff like that. And he was a really cool dude to work with. But when we got the formula together with Staffney, it just felt just so great, and with Humphrey, And we tried to find Staffney many times. He ended up in fucking Tennessee, and later on I said, hey, maybe we need to record this. And then he went back to Oceanside, California after that. I don't know where the fuck he went, but so if it gets out and Staffney hears about it, then give me a call, Staffney. So,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and then well, basically it got down to the point that you're going, man, John and I were working all day, trying to go to college, trying to make progress in just life in general, and trying to keep the band floating. And it just got to the point where you're going, man, it's killing me. There was no, at the time, I felt like there was no time. You're getting older, you're 25,
pulled in different directions.
The whole thing started out of college. A lot of people don't know that. So right out of high school, I went to college. And I moved into the fucking dorms, and him and me were both working construction and trying to pay for college and taking loans out and all this other bullshit. And when I got into my dorm, and So I paid for that, and I think my stepfather had a GI Bill, and that kind of helped out. So when I get into my dorm, they stick me in with this fucking redneck dude that was like from Texas A&M, and he was in the Corps. And they thought it was just going to be a big fight and all this craziness. And me and this guy got along really well. And he turned out to be super fucking cool. And I brought in all my fucking Marshall equipment and all this fucking shit. And if anybody's lived in the college dorm, they're tiny. They're fucking tiny. The whole thing was filled up with all the equipment. We had a bunk bed. And I was on the first floor, and I was blasting all these fucking riffs. And I had all these windows opened out on this kind of atrium where all these, they park, and these girls would come over and they'd play volleyball and all this shit. And I would blast everybody out there. And I would turn this fucking shit up so loud, and I would just be power riffing after speed riffing after one change after another. And, and just to the point where I had the third floor coming down and going, "Hey man, can you please turn it down? You're shaking the whole fucking building and we can't even study," And at the same time, Ross, I think you were going to school too, right? And that's when
I was there at Southwest
and CVS, and that was all right before that show too, the first show, and they all heard about us, and of course we were all ready to talk about where we were because we were blasting the fucking atrium and everything else down there. And finally, him and me weren't getting much done, but all we were doing was meeting chicks and going to parties and writing heavy shit all the time. And we finally just kind of got together and said, "Dude, let's give it 2 years. Let's see what happens with Necrovore, and we'll just take a break from school because obviously we're not going to get anything done here." And waste your money.
Southwest Texas asked me politely to leave campus.
Damn, that's
and not come back for a little while.
That's like a big party. You must have been pretty wild to get the request to leave.
It was a little.
This place was like Animal House.
A little too much.
I'm surprised that they didn't make the movie after that fucking place, and that's the reason they changed the name later. They wanted to get rid of that party name.
Yeah.
You would go out to parties, and these guys would have 33 fucking plus kegs out in the fucking street parties with fucking bands out there, and there was just chicks galore,
I was coming across campus one day. I was in my Firebird. I had 1975. Formula 350 Firebird.
Oh shit!
I was coming across campus and stopped at stoplight. This girl just crawls in the window of the car. "Hey, you got some smoke?" And you're like, "Yeah, man. Hey, I know where there's a party." And I didn't go to class that semester.
the whole semester.
It was probably about 3 days that I actually went to class.
That's awesome, Ross. Shit.
Because there was always a party. Always something going on.
Welcome to the 80s.
Yeah,
I was sneaking girls into my dorm left and right. It was the greatest time ever.
I
started dating this one chick. It was like this really cute little Hispanic chick, and she was fucking cool as shit. And she was like, "Yeah, man, we should definitely hook up and blah 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 blah." And she was really getting into it. And she's like, "Yeah, but my I'd like to meet my dad and all them and my family and." But I just want to get you prepared for that. And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, we're doing a lot of illegal stuff down at the fucking border." And it turns out her dad was like in the head of a Mexican cartel and shit like that. And I was like, "Dude, if I could just get this, I'm going to be buried out in the fucking desert and skinned." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but that's not the reason I broke up. But we broke up. And I was like, but at the same time, I was like, that might help out with Necrovore. If I do Necrovore, it's some money.
Might find some funds real quick.
Yeah, but the cool thing is we had a huge connection with the Hispanic population, which the Hispanic guys, they just love fucking heavy shit. And everything
to this day.
Is just
and cars. I mean, everybody loved cars. So.
Yeah, and Ross was running around on a motorcycle. He had a really badass Harley since he was in high school. So he was hanging out with a biker group, with a biker gang. So we had this biker gang. We had a huge Hispanic connection. Our drummer was Hispanic, and your fucking part, what is that? What is it? Indian or something? Choctaw.
Yeah, the Court of Choctaw.
Oh.
And of course, we're from Texas, and we hammed it up that we were from Texas. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're from South Texas. South Texas fucking people love their fucking Black Death and death metal. And once you're from here, you proudly fucking we have our own culture here. We used to fuck with the guys in Norway, and they finally got going too. And I said, Slav and Glob were hanging out in the fucking snow, huddling for warmth, and then in the winter smoking their sausages is what I used to tell them all the time. And it took them forever to get what the fuck I was talking about, because I said, how can it be fucking evil hanging out in the Nordic wasteland? You're fucking You guys are pale fucking white. It's fucking, cold as shit. And I used to tell him and me would get on the phone with these guys, and I'd be like, so let me get this. I said, do you guys does it get really cold there? And they're like, yeah, it's fucking cold. Yeah, of course it is. It's really cold. I said, so you guys, you have to kind of warm it up, right? You guys, yeah, of course we have to warm it up, because it gets so fucking cold. I said, so you guys like to huddle together and like, for warmth, you have to be closer together, right? And they're like, yeah, well, of course we have to, want to stay warm. And I said, so do you smoke your sausages too together? And I said, and they were like, yeah, we like to smoke sausage. And it took them forever to figure that out. I said, oh, you're huddling together in the fucking winter smoking your sausages. And they're like, they took them for a while. And they're like, fuck you. So we were always fucking with bands all the time.
That's fucking hilarious. Yeah, we like to smoke our sausages.
So we hammed it up from Texas because we were like, well, dude, you're not in Texas. Texas is the desert hellhole from fucking, this is old land. It's hundreds of millions of years old. It's been above, the water. We got fucking ancient fucking culture here. We got the Sonoran Indians. We got the whole fucking Indian population. We got all the Brujeria shit. We all have all the dark magic and shit. I said, there is nothing like this in Texas. This is what fuels this power, is this whole fucking atmosphere down here. And they're like, oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any band from Texas that says they're from the U.S. We're from Texas.
You're from Texas?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
We always hammed it up when we were out of state anyway. Like, where are you from? And I'm like, well, I'm from the greatest fucking country in the United States. What do you think? And they're like, whoa, fucking Texans,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the cool thing about all that feeling from here about writing all those haunty dark riffs, all you have to do is go into the countryside and fucking hang out in the hill country and shit, and all these things will just come right to you, all these feelings and thoughts, and when I got arrested at the abandoned insane asylum, all the police rolled up on me, and I was up there like taking some photos, and I don't know what the fuck I was doing up there, trying to commune with the dead or who knows what, and the cops all roll up on me, and I get thrown in jail for 2 or 3 weeks in the county. And the occult investigator decides to investigate me. And so because they heard all the shit about us, and Ross was talking to they were getting contact by San Antonio Eyewitness News and all that, because they heard how evil and corrupt we were, and we were corrupting the local youth or whoever the fuck. And so I meet up with the head occult detective of the occult squad. And this dude told me shit, about what was actually going on in Texas at the time that, the public doesn't know about. And he was saying, listen, man, he says, I know you guys ain't fucking killing people and shit. At least I don't think you are. And, but this is what what's been going on. And he says, these cartel guys will come in, they'll have a landing strip, they'll bring shit in, they'll have a human sacrifice, or there's people missing, and then they'll fucking blaze out. And he says, there's no way we can tell the public about all this fucking crazy shit that goes on, because it would freak them the fuck out. And, which was pretty cool. And I was like, okay.
Well, we fueled a little bit of that ourselves, man. I was going to tell them the story about with the little fundamentalist church.
So what happened there?
I had knew this girl that lived in the neighborhood with us. She's pretty cool. And her mom went to this little fundamentalist church there in New Braunfels. I mean, we're talking hardcore fundamentalist. Pray your gay away. We're going to make your legs grow. We're going to heal you with prayer. All that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah,
bullshit. Okay.
Real hardcore little group. And we said, hey, next time you go to church, man, why don't you tell them about us? Tell them about us a little bit, man. Yeah. And she started telling them about Necrovore and stuff, about us and all the stuff that we had done. And the church got pretty excited, man. And one day I come home. My dad woke me up. Hey, boy, the hell's in my yard? And there was a little group from that fundamentalist church who had decided to come over and pray for our souls out in the front yard.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, had to go out there and run them off the property.
I'm sure Mom and Dad weren't thrilled about that.
No, my dad was not happy at all with the little fundamentalist church out there trying to save our souls.
That's hilarious.
Tell them about the story where you fucking you had your girlfriend call into the local news organization in San Antonio, pleading to have her fucking to be saved because these guys were going to kill her and do her as a human sacrifice, and they were corrupting her mind.
Yeah.
And all this other shit.
Oh yeah, we did that too. You know, it was.
Yeah. So the big heat. Yeah. So tell them about it, man.
They took the bait.
Funny as shit.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
totally did. It was the ultimate PR too, because they were blasting our name all over Eyewitness News and Channel 12 and 5. Oh, watch out for this fucking man. And you know, there's a cult, you know, groups in this area that are really trying to, you know, do bad things or whatever.
Oh yeah, my dad had this big old stretch Dodge Good Times van. So we sent her out there, and she was out in the parking lot, you know, getting ready to go and do her interview and stuff. And we rolled up out there real bit, hit the tires, jumped out, grabbed her, threw her in the van, took off, and
in front of the cameras.
Yeah, and they were all freaked out. It was, oh my God, there's this horrible abduction. And
this girl saved
me. Yeah, she called all in crying and shit, like, "Oh, you really got to save me," and shit like that. You know, I don't know what to do, and don't worry, we'll help you, and we know who you to get in contact with, and we're going to put a stop to all this. That was back then when the PMRC was really kicking off in the 80s, you know what I mean? And a lot of the local news groups are all trying to do something about it with the local bands. And of course, we were the infamous occult band. So
the satanic worshiping band or whatever.
Yeah.
Satanic Panic, basically, in the 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah, we definitely took advantage of that.
Oh, but yeah, fuck yeah. So, you did mass record a second demo that apparently you guys do not like. What's the quick story on that? The second demo that was recorded but is not released.
Well, either you're talking about the work we did at Black Cat Studio, or you're talking about the little known stuff that we recorded right before we disbanded.
He's probably talking about Blue Cat. So
yeah, I think that's
yes,
Blue
I am
Cat.
talking about Blue Cat.
Okay,
yes.
so we got when we had Javier in, I said, okay, so we got away with murder by putting out this rehearsal demo, and you know, it's not the best recording, and we know it's not, but it went all over the place. That we might as well just take it for what it is. It's out there. There's nothing, you know, we can either do about it or re-record it or some shit. I said, but we got all this new material. Why don't we release the new material, re-record it, and go into the studio and do it professionally? And we were looking for a local studio that, you know, we didn't have to drive up to Austin. And back then, studios were charging a shit tons, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think they're a little bit, maybe even be cheaper now. And so we went to Blue Cat, and I kind of got the set together what we wanted. And Blue Cat didn't do too bad of a job. They separated us in all these separate rooms, and we started doing the recording. But it was, in my opinion, it was coming out so fucking polished, and a lot of that raw energy was not there that I wanted, you know. And a lot of that is that live recording together, you know.
We didn't play that way. I mean, they stuck me. They said, "Oh, here, you know, put these headphones on and go stand over there."
Yeah, he separated everyone.
And you're going,
drums over here.
You know? I don't count notes out.
Yeah.
I need to be with the drummer, man.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to go pat, 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 pat. That's the speed, and then we're going to play.
Yeah, so what we should have did in retrospect is we should have did kind of a bass recording of guitars and drums and bass, and then we could have came back and then layered some stuff over that.
Yeah, that was my bitch too.
Without as much bleed over.
With us standing around doing it all separate, it was just too clean sounding.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
we're
still novices about recording too. We're still figuring this all out too, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, shit, I don't practice with a metronome. Are you kidding?
By the time we got to recording some of the other stuff, I was already committed in my mind. This was just not such a great experience, and I was like, no, fuck, let's just throw some
but we took a break, man.
Or whatever the fuck, and that's it.
Yeah, we took a break. You know, they had to let us take a break. Stepped outside. We got real mad, screamed, jumped around.
Yeah.
Came back in and said, "Fuck it, we're going to finish it."
Yeah.
Well, we already committed to finish it because we paid our money, right? So.
Oh yeah, so money.
You don't want to lose your money.
We had to finish
but
it.
My enthusiasm and my drive was already out, and I was, you know, you can capture that on analog. There's no doubt about it. And so when I did leads, I just spit whatever out and didn't even care and did whatever.
It wasn't the worst recording ever. It wasn't something that, after I went back and heard it again, it wasn't something that was that horrible.
No.
But it was
I wasn't going to release it. There was no way I was going to release it.
I wasn't going to release it either. I don't think the technicians when they did the recording, I don't think
In
it
fact,
worked with a death metal band. They
Yeah,
had no
when I-
idea what it was supposed to sound like.
Probably, most likely.
Yeah, when I talked to Ross about this later, we were talking about, I said, let's just chalk this up as an experience, and it was as a lesson learned, and then we'll go to another studio and we'll get a little bit better prepared. But we needed that lesson. It was like a ball team. You got to get together and fucking practice your shit and practice your plays, and if it's not ready, then fuck it, and that's what happened. Well, here's what happened when New Renaissance Records got a hold of us. So they go, hey, we want to put out an EP with you and some other guys, and they mentioned Morbid, and
Morbid was on it.
And I said, well, fuck, we already got something. I'll send them the Slaughtered and that was for Satan's Revenge, right? So I just sent them what we recorded in Blue Cat to Satan's Revenge, just because I figured, it's not the best, but it's better than nothing, and plus it'll PR us a little bit more too, because until we get our finished product out, which I felt, in my opinion, would have just floored our crowd, our listening group. So I thought it was buying us time.
Yeah, because Satan's Revenge, that's a good comp with Morbid and Anchorwatt and all those bands. I liked it. So, was there ever any other recordings of newer stuff? Can we talk about this? Is there anything that was ever done?
At that time, we did try to do some additional recording, because after that Blue Cat experience, we were trying to record a couple other songs to add to that while we were polishing those back up. And that recording didn't go too well either, and then we did it over some guy's house, and by that time Javier was already thinking he was got to figure out what he's got to do. He had a girlfriend, right? And they were living at home, and we're getting older, at that time, where it's like, well, we got to do something. They're going to do this. And the Texas scene, there was a Texas metal scene, but it wasn't something you could live off of,
No, and then there was also the fights with the unnamed member that had the blown up amp.
Yeah, and they couldn't stay in tune with me either. So we recorded something, and I listened to it, and I went, well, this. I'm not happy about this with it at all.
That's when you burnt, right?
Yeah. So what I did was that night, or a couple nights later, I went down to Goatman's Holler, Ross. I went down there,
Goatman Park.
Goatman Park, and I went late night. I took the reels, and I took everything, and I burnt the fucking reels and everything. And I said, there's no fucking way this is getting out. This is not representative of Necrovore. We're way heavier in this. This is not at our level, And I burnt the fucking reels, and to seal the deal, I slit my wrist and burnt fucking quart of blood on it. And I don't know why I did that, but I just said, here's a sacrifice to the fucking gods of the fucking whatever out here in the hills. And the whole thing went up, and that was the end of it.
So is it true my buddy Chris Sargent is the reason the demo got out? Because he told me you guys told him, I'm sorry, Chris, I'm out and you out 30 fucking years later or whatever it is, but you guys told him, don't record it, but he was slick and he did record it in his dual tape deck. Does that sound right? Or did it come out some other way?
Now, I heard about that later, that it was Chris, and I didn't know it was Chris. I thought it was one of the other guys that played guitar with us. And I was pretty fixated that other people bootlegged and sent it out. And I was really fucking pissed about it. And then later on, I heard, I think from you, Ross, that it was Chris that came over.
That's because I heard it from Fire and Ice over here.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was legendary, now, like Chris says he was like slick, and like you guys looked away, he fucking hit the record button on the dual tape deck thing. And that's why there's no beginning. Like you don't hear it, it just comes in with the riff. You didn't get the first part, but fucking Chris Sargent. Hey, Chris, what's up? He's in the chat somewhere.
Actually, I heard it later, and it wasn't that as bad as I thought it was. Because I was thinking it was the stuff that we recorded over some other dude's house that I burnt those reels, because those were terrible. And I was like, there's no way that's getting out.
Yeah, but the songs weren't bad.
Yeah.
No, the songs are good.
Up with vocals and then leads and then thickened
up.
Now,
the material's solid. The recording was horrible.
But we had a whole bunch of stuff that was unreleased Necrovore that no one ever heard, and then
we still got all that stuff.
Decided after that, because of those experiences, I've hoarded everything. And being the perfectionist that I am, I wasn't releasing nothing. So I had so much. I sent you some pictures, Ross, of all
Yeah.
the stuff. I said, yeah, there's no 1 or 2 tapes out here, not 1 or 2 CDs. There's fucking, like 20 something things back to back, hours and hours and hours of riffing ideas and, strong structures. And the way a guitarist writes, he writes a beginning, maybe he'll write an end, maybe he'll write a bridge, he might write a section that goes into another section. And so that's all that, some songs are 30% done, some of them are 70% done, some were 10%. I had a whole bunch of beginnings, I had a bunch of ends, and then you go and you don't record it unless it's worth to be recorded. Because I was that way. That was my mindset. If it's not worth the shit, I will not remember it and it will not be recorded, And there was a lot of stuff I forgot that was actually pretty fucking good. And I was like, God damn,
It happens to me too. I'll rip out something like, oh, I need to record this. But I go and fuck up and go do something else, forget, and come back. Now, how's that riff go? Fuck, I forgot it.
Yeah, I would get so fucking pissed about that. I would, God damn. And the way I was, because something would happen, you'd run off, and after you wrote this, after you were working on the thing for hours and hours and hours, days and days, you had it committed in your mind. Then you're gonna, okay, I'm gonna record this, and you would completely forget how you attacked it, one of the pulls or one of the transitions, and I'd get so pissed about it, I would just scrap the whole thing and go, God damn, if you can't remember it, then it wasn't meant to be recorded. But that's not true,
We've got concepts for songs and lyrics and stuff that John and I have worked on.
How many completed songs do you have outside the 4 demo songs, do you think? I know you had, Treacherous and Chaotic Malevolence. So that's 2 that I know of. Do you have, other ones, John or Ross, you guys remember? Is there a whole album out there that could be recorded, or what's the case on that?
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. There's a ton there's so much stuff. And
I would... Yeah.
Okay, first of all, what was recorded back then is we had Demented Evil, we had which was kind of a churning power tone, and then there was Treacherous Abomination, which I was working on that when Morbid contacted me and go, hey, I heard you're writing a song called Treacherous Abomination. We're getting ready to release something called Abomination, and we fought with them for a while on the title. They said. And I said, well, I'm going to keep it Treacherous, or I'm going to call it Treacherous Abomination. Well, we're going to release Abominations, so we wanted to make sure. So we were always touching bases at least a little bit. So there was that one, and then there was Chaotic Malevolence, and then I think there might have been Deplachett of Souls and something else,
Shit. Wow.
So
cool.
quite a few. And then there was a whole bunch of them that didn't have song titles, because I was going over some stuff with Ross the other day, and I said, all right, this is song number 7, and I wouldn't have any song titles. I would just give them an acronym of what the song was about. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have a title. I'd say, this is number 7, this is number 5, this is number 3. And then I would lose count,
Oh, look at this. Chris is in the chat, and he says, I accidentally hit record on the original copy and erased 10 seconds of it. Oh, well, that explains why it's gone. There you go.
So I guess it's kudos to him. Thanks, Chris, for at least recording it, because if it would have been up to me, nothing would have ever gone out, because I was such a Nazi.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. As Ross knows, he's like, dude, nothing's ever going to come out because John's just going to be such a fucking perfectionist about everything.
What is this?
Man, maybe, sometimes, right?
Well, okay. I got people who want to know what's the current status? I mean, I know you guys are friends, so that's great. You guys still hang out and friends and hang out in real life. Do you guys ever rehearse? Do you just I kind of already know what you told me prior, but for the people listening, what would you say the status of Necrovore is at the moment as a band? Just so everyone who probably wants to know, is there going to be a reunion show? Is there going to be an album? What would you guys say?
Oh, you can open it up, Ross, if you want.
Oh, I was going to say, man, I'm always going to defer to the guy that writes the music,
I appreciate that.
Okay. I would not be overly surprised if by the, some point in 2025, we put an album out.
Okay.
I would not be overly surprised.
Okay, I sent you some pictures of all the fucking material we got. There's back-to-back maybe 15 tapes of You know, there's 45 minutes on either side of nothing but songs and song pieces and everything together. That needed to be put together. Not to mention all those CDs, not to mention all those mini tapes. And I sent you about 3 pictures, and I told you to go ahead and share that.
Yeah, I did.
Did you forward it to me?
With Mr. Necron. So
I
he
can.
could see there was all this material that was unreleased material that everyone wants to hear. And
not only that, man, there just happens to be some awesome lyrics.
yeah, because I like the demo. I like the demo.
The lyrics are pretty good.
New stuff usurps it just in so many ways. And so I was the person that was the most frustrated going, because I would hear all this great stuff about the old demo, and for it to have that much longevity for so many years, I was like completely blown away. I didn't even know, you know, and I was like, oh man. And I was like, well, if you fucking like this, then you 100% are going to like this, because this shit is taken into a whole nother level, you know. And because I characterize our stuff as having kind of a psychotic black, I called it psychotic black, kind of a twisty feel. I ran weird disharmonic riffs, all these weird scale ups and scale downs, all these triplets, all these diagonals. You know, I did a lot of Locrian shit and all these weird diminished modes and shit like that. And I was trying to capture these dark tones that would take you into like the just like this dark void of darkness that you would just feel, that would permeate you, that would get into your mind and just make you just be encompassing. And that was my whole goal. I was like, you know, I gotta get this where people can feel this. You know, it's an art. It's not just music anymore. It ain't just a feeling you can feel. It's an actual movement. It's a movement of power. You know, and so that him and me have had so much material, and there was so much bullshit going on over the years. It was either one thing after another. And I saw some guy summarize it out of Los Angeles. You know, he put it in. He was going to UCLA, and he put a funny thing out in one of the mags that I didn't really keep up with the forums and the mags that much, but this one thing popped out, and he says, the reunion of Necrovore is like this. He says, although it would be the greatest thing ever, if they would release their shit, it's the same thing as like Santa Claus or some shit like that. Remember?
Oh, yeah, that's the guy from UCLA.
UCLA, fucking, you know.
The guy from UCLA.
I was like, man, if I ever have anything released, I'm going to put that guy on as a credit and go, fuck you, I heard you, and you pissed me off, and I'm going to release. So
yeah, so this guy from UCLA,
I love shit like that.
This guy from UCLA wrote a paper. I mean, you know, a term paper.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was his dissertation, right?
Yeah, he was linking mythology, and that's what he was. It was a paper on mythology, and he was presenting the fact that it was easier to believe in Santa Claus than the Necrovore would ever put another album out.
I remember reading that. That was making the rounds. Yes.
Yeah,
so you're like, fuck this dude. Okay.
Because it heard so many times that we were, going to put something out.
I stumbled onto that. It was ingrained in my brain. I was like, God damn it, I'm going to have to show this guy, and I'm going to put him on the credit list. You know.
Wait a minute. That was Jeff? Versafera Jeff? Oh.
Yeah, I think that's it, right?
You know Jeff. John, right? Jeff.
Yeah, I was thinking it was some dude. Well, dude, you got
You're the reason we're going to get
I'm the guy who's, people are like putting a fire under my ass because Ross knows how I am. I'm real antisocial, kind of foreboding, and I kind of do my own thing, and I'm like, fuck this, no one's going to understand this if I do this, so you just stay in your own world. And when I would see shit like that, I would be like, all right, God damn it, that got me going, and it would get me fired up, and Ross would be hearing, and I'd be like, I'm working on number 7 now, get ready on your bass, you better be fucking working on those riffs.
Holy shit, John gets me in trouble like that all the damn time.
And he always gets us in the middle of the night. I'll wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning working on something, and I got to go to work the next day. And I'm like,
this dude gets my ass in trouble night and day.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just chilling, man, relaxing, having a margarita, and I get this phone call, and it's a pissed off John talking about some dude that's talking shit about Necrovore.
Normally, I don't give a fuck about that because I'm off in my own world. I do not give a shit. It's only
naturally that gets me fired up, man. Naturally, that gets me fired up.
Yeah,
man.
like the Santa Claus thing. That really had me going. I'm like, God damn it!
And I'm doing my thing all of a sudden.
I'll show you.
So you're out there doing that. You tell that fat fuck I'll kick his goddamn ass. Fuck you, and then everybody gets chills out a little bit later.
Normally I didn't care.
Come on, man! I've already said all this. Jumped out there and threatened everybody, and
yeah, and if
you're going, okay, man, we got to stick with it. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, if the stuff was from '87, I was just blown away that it was still getting notoriety in today's modern
day. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, you're talking about that guy.
I mean, I was able to take it with a grain of salt after so much time. If I'm still hearing fucking good things, but I'm also hearing bad things going, well, it's not as heavy as this or none of this right now, I'd be like, oh, who gives a fuck? You know, the fact that you're even still talking about it is blowing me away, you know.
So there was an incident recently on Justin's channel, J-Dog, where he had King saying that you guys talked about Bruce Springsteen more than anything. What the fuck was this
again,
about?
You're going, man, of all the insults you could think of using, that?
And it's another one of those things like the Santa Claus thing. I am so out of touch with everything. I'm in my own world. I do not fucking pay attention to shit. And it just so happened that I woke up that morning and I was feeling fucking great. I had my second cup of coffee. I'm sitting in front of the TV and this thing, and I watch these YouTube clips all the time, and his fucking show pops up. And
really? Oh, shit.
What the fuck is this show popping up for? I don't keep track of it and stuff like that. And he's talking to Ledney, and then it's like, and then he's like, well, did you hear the rumor? And Ledney's just at a show, and he just finished playing, and he goes, well, did you hear this rumor that John Deplachett's, into fucking Bruce Springsteen, and he's kind of a poser and all this shit like that? And Ledney's response, and so right away my eyes are wide fucking open. I'm like, what the fuck, and because I knew, and he was saying that it was Fowley. We knew Fowley, you know what I mean? From back.
Fowley said originally. I saw that video, and I remember watching it that day, and I was like, what? That don't make sense. I was
completely blown away by that because like I said, we were friends with a lot of those guys on the East Coast, and we knew all of them, and they were all fucking super cool. Like I know John McAtee, I know Incantation, I know the guys from fucking Immolation, and we knew Fowley because Fowley was writing back and forth, so we had high regards of Fowley. You know what I mean? Because we always were on good terms with that because I'm from the DC area originally. I'm from there, and then I moved to Texas, and. So I can, so I was a little blown away by that, but when I heard Ledney speaking about it, and the cool thing to give Ledney credit for that, he heard it and he goes, "Well, that doesn't sound right," He looks around, that doesn't sound fucking right, and they were comparing us to fucking, me taking off, and then all of a sudden listening to Bruce Springsteen, and so to be honest, and I told Ross about it, and he goes, oh, fuck, Bruce Springsteen is pretty famous. They're like $1 million band and blah, blah, blah. I don't fucking care. What do I give a shit? You know what I mean? And I was like, God damn it. It was fucking Fowley, man. And those fuckers over there. And I said, I've known these guys for years. What the fuck is going on,
Yes.
Insults, man.
Yeah. Back Bruce Springsteen.
Had you come out and said, well, fucking Ross, he can't play the bass. He sucks. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, but whatever.
I mean, you're going, dude.
Friends. We knew all those guys out there. We're all, talking to each other, all getting influences from each other. You're
going, Springsteen? I've had
absolutely
as many conversations about Taylor Swift as I have had Springsteen.
Yeah, so I'm going apeshit over this one, and nothing hardly ever gets a fuel under my fire, except for like something that's telling me, would you hurry up and write your fucking shit and release it, motherfucker? And I contact the guy from Abzu, and I said, hey, how do I get a hold of Ledney? And he's like, oh, I'll have to look it up. And then I sent something out to Ledney. Ledney goes, what? He goes, yeah, man, that guy's actually he's actually pretty cool, but he says that's really unusual. He would do that. He says he's probably just talking shit. And I said, well, we're going to come out there. I'm looking for a motherfucker, but I kind of toned back after a while, after I kind of figured out what was going on. I think it was because Ledney was a big fan, and so was some of the other guys, and we were a fan of their projects too. I mean, we had
just typical shit. John getting me in trouble
for what Ledney was working on. I loved Abzu. I liked Incantation. I liked all those bands, and they had great ideas. And after Ledney talked to me, he just said, "Hey, man, these guys are kind of maybe they're pissed that you didn't release. You know what I mean? You didn't continue because these guys knew you could feel there was so much more not happened." that didn't happen. And they're like, hey, motherfuckers, we've been living off a 4-song demo all this time.
So maybe it was like some type of reverse psychology or something.
I don't see. I'm open to that too. Right? I mean,
like, oh, well, maybe this is a way of reaching out and saying, would you please get off your fucking ass and prove me wrong? And I'm like, all right, hey Ross, I'm working on song number 12 now.
Okay, that was you, Francisco. There you go.
Thanks, man. I reached out to them and they calmed me down and said, hey, it's cool. Yeah, I thought Lenny was really cool, man. I loved his response. He just was like, he looked around and he likes looking around and he looks back at him and he kind of looks around like it totally took him on. And he was like, that sounds fucking right. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, Lenny. And I was just like coming off the couch going, fuck yeah. You know? It was awesome.
I mean, we got you guys here, talking about the band. So that's cool. Get some momentum going here, maybe.
I'm going to try to get some stuff out. There's so much stuff out. John, if you were here at my house and you saw the shit, you'd be going, let me get this board and beat you in the head until you fucking release this because you got it all here, motherfucker. What the fuck?
Or you got the studio set up.
We've been waiting. We keep listening to the first 4-song demo. I'm drilling fucking divots in my head over and over and over, and it's like, I got to hear something different. Come on, man. And, I got the studio set up. So I got a full-blown studio at my place, Yeah,
let's talk about that. What's going on here? You got a studio? Like a home studio?
I do at my place. I got everything you want to record in. I got all the, I got all the Apollo equipment that takes in, guitars and I run Pro Tools and everything. I got the full-blown system. I got everything.
I have a bass.
You got more than that.
I have a bass.
You got a bunch of equipment at your house. I got a bunch of equipment here. I've got programming equipment, and I've got all my amps, and I got pedal boards, and I got my guitars, and I had Neil Moser build me another guitar. I still got an Iceman because I'm holding on to the legacy of the Iceman.
There you go.
So that's what we started with, and I want to stick with that. And I'll bring out the Iceman when I'm doing the original Necrovore shit. I'll bring that out just for John. And I'll go, here, listen to this motherfucker, mutilated death on the Iceman,
Yeah.
And then I'll bring out Neil Moser's Spawn that he built. I had a custom Spawn built by Neil Moser, and that took like 2 years to finally get that fucker in. And it's got that old 80s tone, and I'm using that on all the new stuff. So I told Ross we were delaying on this interview for forever, and I said, nah, I want to give Necron something. I want to give him like a little snippet of something.
Oh, that was you that decided that.
That
was you that decided that. Okay.
Did you help me decide that?
I just want to make sure that was you that decided that. Okay, got it.
Talk about something, John. Let's get something to eat and talk about something. You need to crawl out of your fucking closet.
I told like my closest Conrads, hey, this may happen, but I was never one to like announce something because you don't want to fucking put your foot in your mouth. And everybody says, hey, what happened to that Necrovore interview? And I just then Ross kind of just started making it happen. And
we got to do it. We're from Texas, and plus, the Texas scene has been dying for it. They're like, come on, you got to have something out. And I know the guys on the East Coast, and I know the guys Autopsy and those guys out on the West Coast, and I know Immolation would love to hear it, and they're just like, would you please put something out? It don't have to be stellar, just something that's really fucking intense. From that recaptures that, so
awesome.
I hope to do that. And, I will do that. So, because we got so much here. I laid all the shit out on the floor this morning and I took a picture of it and I sent Ross this. I said, in case he's wondering if we ever wrote any additional material, here you go, Yes, of course we did.
Yeah.
I just got to go through it. It's just like going through a story and you got to piece it together, right?
That's what I said too. We've got chapters and chapters and chapters.
That thing is, I need somebody
but it's not a book.
And I need my friends, like good friends that know me, to go, dude, stop fucking splitting the goddamn atom and making it into a fucking, this is not a quantum energy fucking weapon. Just fucking release it,
No, it's true because you can overthink the littlest things, and it kind of can stop.
And I would. It would just wear you out. You would start on one thing, and I go, I don't know if I like this transition. I came out of this on this tack, and I slide up. Then I do this triplet, pull down, and then I go and I take a break, and I go into this power section. Wait a minute, I could have did this with a slide up, then a pull down, and you know what I mean. And you're going back and forth, and you're like, okay, I need to lay down for a second here, my friend.
Yeah. it can become tedious, like overthinking music. This is how it works sometimes.
Yeah.
And Ross's is over here saying, "I just want to jam, right?"
I was gonna say we're just going to turn it up to 11, man. just stick it on 11.
Yeah, so we got a little
We're
practice
good.
spot set up over at Ross's, and then I got my studio set up over here. So the plan was for him to come over here when I'm ready to record. And I actually reached out to the guys from Septic Flesh, and they sent some some of their drum samples and shit like that from Septic Flesh. So
I'll
I got
send you
that
some.
to work with.
I'll send you that stuff from you.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to show it on here or not.
Well, I just can't figure out how to.
So what's to say we're right? And so the guys from Austin have been bugging me. There's a couple of guys that do distribution, and that play up there. And they've been bugging me. They're like, would you fucking please release and get this shit out so we can put it out? And so Philip Patterson, which is the guy I played with way, way, way back, he's a really fucking good guitarist. He's personal friends with like Lee Jackson and those guys. The guy lives like right down the road from him. And he bought his old rig. He bought his Marshall setup, and he's got his fucking that Metaltronics head, like one of those things. And if you got them set up right, they're really crunchy. So he's wanting to come in and help us. He's like, dude, let's go to the studio. I'll fill in for the other guitarists, and we got some drummers up here, and then you can do whatever.
I sent it to you.
Okay, I'll get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I may be working with Philip Patterson as our other guitarist, and he's right on with it. No, right now he's working with Militia. Militia's actually did a reunion tour. That's the guy that's playing for them. But he's a phenomenal guitarist, and I said, well, dude, if you come in, it's going to get dark, and you got to be ready for the dark side. And I've been bugging this guy for years. I said, the dark side is calling you, and this guy's been playing since he's 5. He's like ridiculously good, but I got to be careful and dial him back. I don't want him getting too technical because that old Austin thing and all that shit.
Oh yeah, you got.
I said, I got to be funny and technical, but this guy looks like fucking. Like one of those dudes that lives off in the fucking woods that does sacrifices for fucking, he looks like a witch. He's got this.
The hills have eyes.
Yeah, he looks like John McAfee. He's got the long gray hair and the crazy look, and he's got his guitar. He's like, yes, we will sacrifice.
All right, I'm getting these photos uploaded. Can you talk about people who want to reissue the stuff officially? Because we know it's been bootlegged to death, and we know Nuclear War now wants to do it. And have you been reached out by any other? I'm sure you have. Anyone who wants to put out the old material?
Yeah. Like I said, the guys from Austin. I think then the Nuclear War, and then a whole bunch of other guys. And if we don't get back to them, they bootleg it anyway. So it's almost like a free for all. It's like, and I think I reached back to one of them. And I said, well, let us re-record the demo at least, and go into the studio and not polish it up, but get a little bit cleaner version of it. They're like, no, you can't touch it. You can't. Just let us have the master tape, and then we'll release it as is. And I was like, oh, sure, because there's stuff on there that you can't hear. If you listen closely on some of those things that you think are a bunch of power riffs going into this or this, like, oh, he's just running this one speed power riff going into this. Listen closer on a good copy. Remember, this thing's been bootlegged times.
Yeah, some of them
changed, and everybody thinks they're a recording artist, and they re-EQ it. But if you listen closely, you can hear all these second guitars doing all these runs up, run downs, all these triplets, all these quintuplets, run ups, run downs, slide downs, all these harmonics, all this shit. It gets buried in the mix. Because I played it for a couple guys that came over to my place one time, and I go, this is the way Diva sounds. And they were like, holy fuck, I had no idea you were doing all that in there. I'm like, yeah. And I said, well, then that's got to come out in the recording.
Okay, we got a couple good questions. And who designed the logo, John?
You just answered. You just answered that question.
Yeah. I literally did.
Yeah. I designed that that's basically when I was a kid. I was real young. I designed that, and the crazy mandibles on our fucking Batwing thing, and there was some influence from Venom, of course, because Venom does the cursive thing, and I thought that looked really fucking cool. And of course, there was a little bit of influence from Possess, because it had like the devil tail off on one end of it, and I wanted to do it in cursive like what Venom did. And then of course I added the Batwing with the manacles. And back then we were into gaming and shit like that, board gaming. Him and me played like all these fucking dice games and shit like that. And I had I was like really young when I did all that. I had a fucking pit fighter that would kill everything. We'd go into the villages and kill everything, and he would rape the women and fucking enslave the population. And I said, no, this would be great for motherfucking Necrovore. I'll just throw that on there too, because they are a bunch of fucking Necrovores, So, but since then, I got a whole bunch of new art too. I had John Zig up in Austin redo the logo. He's a real kind of a famous tattoo artist up in that area. And then
he did my tattoos, by the way. John Zig.
Yeah, John Zig did the Necrovore logo. I don't know if you saw that new print. And then he did it with that whole fleshy feel to each one of the letters. It almost has that H.R. Geiger look, And then there was all the sick art that was done from Frank Serenana that no one's ever seen. And then Jason Kroll did a fuck ton, and if I heard he's still around. So if he's still around, I've got all his art that no one's ever seen, and some of it is just really abysmal. And I never did release that. And I was real big on releasing seals and sigils that represented a song, because I'm kind of into that, music vibration and music affects the human mind, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really big on that because you got to think about what everyone was listening to and what everyone was reading back in the day and all those influences that influence your ideas. Of course, anybody was listening, of course, Lovecraft, and then you were taking it further and you were listening to, maybe some occult manuscripts or fucking writings from some fucking great writer or some shit like that, or maybe some kick-ass fucking haunty fucking orchestra music, anything that had influenced our ideas, you know what I mean? And you could take it a step further. So I wasn't writing thing about the Cthulhu mythos and shit like that. Of course, that's where it may start with your idea, but later on you're thinking, I like what the guy's talking about with the old gods and these dimensions between dimensions and how things affect your mind and how your mind can be affected by these forms and these musical tones and shit like that. And I was like,
that's very cool.
And that's where we wanted to take it. And that's the reason I started calling it psychotic. I was like, it's going to be psychotic like that. And that's what also got me back into engineering. I went back into electrical engineering. I took signals and systems because I was like, there's got to be these formulas that get into people's minds and make them go into other dimensions and we'll create a fucking universe. I was like crazy mad,
Yeah, that's awesome though. And it does make sense. I can see how that could tie into engineering as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the shit I was like sharing with fucking those guys in Norway, And so I was talking with it all started with Euronymous and those guys reaching back to me from Norway. And that's before he even formed the band. He's like, yeah, we want to do this band. And, here I'm thinking about calling it Mayhem. Or I'm working with somebody else called Burzum. And he's a buddy of mine. And you know what I mean? And they're like, what do you want to do? And I was explaining to him, I said, this whole thing is like dark art. I said, we're like a movement. We need to be part of a movement, not just one band. Like, we're separating ourselves from the commercial music. We're not saying this is music anymore. We're saying this is a movement. There's a power movement, and within it has kind of like a rite of passage for, males or females, take you into that dark recesses that open you up where you gain power. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And they just were like, holy fuck,
They probably were never on that, thinking on that level at that point. Yeah. They just probably want to make some thrash jams or something.
Now, whether that's
possible,
okay. Exactly. When it comes down to it, we just want it to be heavy. When you just write and release the material,
All right, I got the pictures of this stuff that you sent to Ross, so we're gonna show it all for you guys to see. Here's one picture of this is all unreleased. This recordings and ideals and
I just
so on.
Stuff out of a box I had in my closet, and I said, so right now above the little Necrovore shirt there's about 12 back-to-back 90-minute tapes. That's back then when you recorded on tape.
Mm-hmm.
To the right of that is the Master from Hell demo studio. That's the actual mix down from the 4-track. And then same thing, there's another copy of it up on the far left. And then, of course, all those CDs and all those tapes, and, of course, then all those mini tapes and all that other shit, they're all filled up. All that stuff is material. And it's like, there's so much there that it's almost overwhelming. It's like, would you just pick one and just start releasing material? Yeah.
So we're not talking about a shortage of material here then. No, that's not the problem.
And a lot of these are not recapturing. Like, I'm not redoing. Oh, yeah. And on my left is my, above that is I should have took a full picture of it, is my Neil Moser Spawn. He built me a custom Spawn. We modified the electronic. Wow. Then I put the 80s Super Distortion DiMarzios for that crunch from the 80s. And then,
yes.
Yeah, because there's a certain tone that comes from the 80s, you know what I mean? And on my tremolo system, I'm still like a big proponent of the Kayla Pros because I think you can pull up and pull down for those crazy, insane overtones and dives. And I love disharmonic, those weird harmonics that pierce into your skull after you just come out of a power section. After you're like junk, and you just, it screams into your brain, and you're just like, what the fuck happened? And so on these, I replaced everything with stainless steel because when you on the stainless steel rollers and everything, it makes it scream more. And of course, on the right is
I've been through that.
Yeah. And on the right is the Iceman.
You slot out everything.
Yeah. The one on the right is another Iceman. It's a rare one, but I'm gonna have to do some modification on that. And then so that's it. There's a whole bunch of artwork I'll have to send you sometime, and
Yeah, that's great. No, this is show to rewind.
And I'll get some help, and I'll get some fuel under my fire from the community saying, "Goddamn, John, I know you got it. You showed it. So I don't want to hear any more of your shit. Fucking release it. What did you do this weekend? What did you do last weekend? All right, I'll fucking work on it. It's like mowing a fucking yard sometimes, but you want to feel good, enthusiastic about it.
My friend JD wants to say, please tell more about Frank Serena.
Serenana.
I'm sorry.
He was an artist out of West Texas that did a lot of fucking kick-ass art for Necrovore. He did one of the flyers, but he also did stuff for like on the T-shirt that you just showed. The guy that was the face, that's from Serenana, and there's all this other stuff that he put down that we were going to release stickers and T-shirts over that I never did.
And he was in Severance. Is that who you're talking about, JD?
I think so. I heard about that.
Yeah, I think that's his friend from way back or something.
Yeah, so if he's still around and tell him I said, hey, because his art was really cool and it really helped him.
South Texas. Yeah.
South Texas. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Well, yeah. So he's the one that did that famous face ripping off the other face, basically.
He did that. No. I think that was Kroll.
Okay.
Yeah. No, because his artwork is a little more polished than that.
Badass.
Yeah, he does some badass artwork. It's really polished and looks, real detailed. Kroll did all these real, kind of really rough looking, people getting their faces torn off and stuff. Well, with Toxic Decay, he did a whole bunch of kick-ass shit for that. And he would always have like these morphed creatures, semi-reptilian, he created his own pantheon of creatures. It was so kick-ass. So I'll have to release that. And I heard he's still around on these characters.
Okay, yeah, that's JD's bandmate in Severance. Or Annihilator? I get confused, JD. Anyway, so another thing that happened a couple years ago that would kind of be under the more controversial thing is the band name, people saying Necrovore playing out, and they would use the Necrovore logo to book a show or whatever. Do you guys want to clear up anything about that, or I don't know, you've got to go any personal reasons or nothing like that. But
just, Ross, what do you got to say about that?
How you guys, so people who are listening probably want to know, was that Necrovore or what was going on? Some people may not know.
Well, no, it was not Necrovore. I've never had any problem with anybody doing a tribute set. All right, if you want to incorporate that, that's fine, but you cannot claim to be Necrovore.
Yeah, and anybody doing a tribute song to us, I never had any problem with that. Like Bloodspill did, I think what did they do? Slaughter Remains or some shit like that? No, not Bloodspill, but it was Bloodstorm. And I think they did a pretty good job of that. And, oh, that's too bad, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, he was awesome.
So, obviously that wasn't.
We don't have any problem with people doing, tributes and stuff of songs, but not
cover
coming out representing us and going, we're Necrovore. And that was what was going on. It was a blatant, we are Necrovore, we're playing as Necrovore. And I'm like, well, okay. Well, I said, well, then they'd have to be stupid as fuck because who's the singer? You know what I mean? I mean, all you have to do is check the demo and go, what people on this demo are here?
That's what I said too, because all of a sudden I was getting email.
Yeah.
From people going, oh man, I can't wait to see you. And you're going, who the hell are you?
Like, well, what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah, I would get tipped off by Laurent Ramadier from France. Man, that dude still stays in tune. Remember Decibels of Death magazine from back in the day? Yeah, he'd get a hold of me and go, hey, is it true you guys are playing over here? I'm going to fly over to the States. And I'm like, fuck, no, we're not playing. What are you talking about? You know, and he'd let me know. Or I'd,
Oh yeah, hell, I think you were in North Carolina at the time, and
yeah, and that's another thing. You know, a lot of these reunions that didn't happen, like either I would be in some place where it seemed like I was able to work on the material, and then something would come up, you know, and some dude in one of the forums actually had the coolest statement about it, and everybody was like, well, they're all talking shit. They don't do this. They don't do that. And then this one guy comes back and he goes, dude, you know what it comes down to? It's probably as simple as fucking, it's just fucking life. Life happens. Fucking shit happens. These dudes are older. We're not all fucking in high school anymore. We're living in a folks' house or, you know, or some dumbass shit like that. We have jobs.
Yeah.
We have fucking careers. We get married.
Yep.
We have kids, you know, stuff happens. We got to move, you know, and it's just like, and it's hard to get yourself where you're in that mind frame. You can't just pick it up and go, hey, I just got off work. I'm really feeling tired today. Today, I just feel like I got to work on Necrovore. Not unless you're just in the most angry, fucking crazy mood, you know? So, and that would cause problems.
Yeah, I mean, that's normal. I mean, you know,
No,
I get it, like 15.
Who's this that knew Ted Hart's? Because he had problems. I think he worked with John McEntee. Is that right? If John's on, he would know. Because I met Ted Hart's in Florida. Because when I went down to hang out with Morbid, I ran into Ted Hart's. And he was with Mark Lotta. And I think he said he played with some band, started with an M, I can't remember. But he tried to claim a connection to Incantation, but it was something else. I can't remember the name of them. But he was actually, I'd never heard the guy play. I heard he was a good guitarist. He never even would pick up a guitar. And we almost got together and played together, but I never heard the guy play. And plus, I didn't really feel like he had he was in Florida for a little while, but he said he came from the East Coast and he moved down there. So his whole idea is he was going to move down there with his fucking stripper chicks, and they were going to support Necrovore, and we were going to release in the Necrovore, and the stripper chicks were going to help. You know, I was like, okay. No. Dude, I said, that's wild. I applaud you for your idea, but you know,
I know you almost got me with the stripper chick thing. But
they're going to support us, our stripper women, our army of stripper women. You know, going to bring the money home, and then we're
going to fund the whole thing here.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You know?
Get out there and get our recording budget, man.
Yeah, I don't think your model's going to work, dude. I have doubts about it, you know. So
that's funny.
But now I'm here. I moved back from about a couple of years ago, or about a year and a half ago, from North Carolina. I was as an engineer, and I heard that people were saying I was a teacher. I never was a teacher. I was an engineer. I was an electrical engineer. I started off in aerospace, and then I did electrical. So I did jet propulsions and electrical, and I ended up working for missile and defense in Alabama, you know, working on for contracts for Northrop and Grumman and Boeing and shit like that. So it was missile systems for destroyers and aircraft. And then it ended up working for, and that ended up being for GE Intelligent Platforms, and I ended up working for GE Healthcare in in North Carolina. So I went from blowing the fuck out of people and missiling them down to let's go repair them, you know. And the cool thing about it is a lot of these companies own the same fucking thing. They were like, well, we're going to develop good military shit, and then we're going to fix them, and then we're going to blow them up again.
Yeah, keep the cycle going, you know.
Yeah, so now I'm back in San Antonio working in biomed, and we're creating some cool.
Yeah, there was a rumor that you worked at NASA's. Was that ever true, or
just a project for NASA? But it was top secret clearance, and you know, I don't think I can
all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was like some pretty cool technology, and some of the stuff on the military weapon systems were so over the top because I worked at JJ Pickle Research Center for a while on the railgun stuff, and there's only so much you could talk about that under the whole, you know, what that was about. But we got shit that was just fucking is insane. There's no way no one's going to take out the United States. There's no fucking way. We got stuff that's just will fuck your universe up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah, nothing to worry about.
That's good to hear. And to me, too, that almost kind of ties into just the whole kind of Necrovore background as well, too. You know, like aggression, weapons, you know.
Yeah,
muscle cars.
I was going to say it makes sense, right? I mean, I went and spent 24 years active duty, deployed multiple times.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
Well, you take up something. You go,
like I
man, I've
talked
always.
about with our life things. He was over in fucking Iraq forever, running people over that would step in front of his truck. He'd just say, "Man, I wouldn't even stop. I'd just run them over." You know, hey man, was that another road bump? No, it was another body.
And that's, could be another reason why, things have been delayed. You were active service for 20 years. Shit happens.
You've got to move forward with your life. I mean, hell, money makes the world go round.
Hell yeah.
You just don't buy yourself a 392 TA Dodge. If you've got no money.
Yeah, plus
you got to have a job,
right?
Yeah. And it helps too to have if you can, find you a lady who can bring in some dough with you too, and makes life a little easier.
Yeah, just rub it in, why don't you?
Yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah,
that's another thing. Don't get me started on that shit.
We both could go the fuck off on that, because I got married once.
That gets my.
And my God!
I know, right, man? That gets my friggin'
care of the whole family.
All of a sudden, you get angry, and I get mad, and you start screaming, and God damn it!
That's awesome. Where did you live in North Carolina, John? McEntee wants to know.
Yeah, I was in Charlotte and outside of Charlotte in Huntersville and Mooresville area, and both of my sisters and my mom were in Druid Hills and Lexington and all that. So
okay,
that's where I was at. I was in Charlotte, but right outside of Charlotte in Huntersville.
No. Did you just you wanted to come back to Texas?
Yeah, I tried to start my own company out there because I was doing that biomedical shit at the end of it after blowing people up, after fucking creating missile systems. I went out and decided to try to start my own company, and things didn't go under, and I lost a bunch of money. And I contacted Ross. I said, "Hey man, I'm gonna come back to Texas. There's family here, besides your immediate family. I've known him like he's like a brother, you know what I mean? And plus I like Texas. I mean, there's such a good vibe here. There's so many friends here, and and plus I kind of wanted to end up with doing Necrovore before it all ended, before we're all fucking in the grave,
No shit.
I said, dude,
it'd be great.
I got to release this stuff before we're gone, and then at least I can go out saying at least it was done. And then, if anything happens after that, then, there's your legacy,
Yeah, because I mean, it really seems like now would be the time, right? You guys
now would be the time.
Are able to work together. There's,
yeah, because it's been so cool talking to so many guys that have been so supportive of it over all the years. And by this time, their band's already got 3 or 4 things out, and I'm completely honored to hear back from them that they're still supportive of it when these guys already gone to the studio and got 2 or 3 fucking CDs out. You know what I mean? And it's just fucking, and they toured Whackin' Fest or wherever the fuck, Hellfest or some shit like that. And they're like, so you're like,
well, I mean, honestly, Necrovore was right there leading the charge, with Morbid Angel and all the death metal bands that were Incantation and all of them were coming out. To me, I think you guys were a little ahead of it. I know Morbid Angel had some demos out prior, but Thy Kingdom Come to me is the one that put them on the map. But that was what 88. So you still beat them by a year, So I mean, it would be fucking fantastic to see you guys get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Show everyone this is what it's about. This is what everybody fucking praises Necrovore.
Plus Texas and especially United States has a very unique fucking Black Death metal fucking sound, as opposed to what's going on in Europe. I mean, there's some similarities, but I love the fact that if the groups in this, in this continent they kind of bind together on their fucking sound and their
right. It's not just Texas, right? It's South Texas.
Yeah,
I mean or
the United States in whole, because I used to release on a lot of our artwork. I used to put down U.S. Black Death, in a little cross symbol because, we're still in the end we're United States Black Death. All the fucking states, all these guys are putting so much energy. We have such commonalities amongst us all, even though Texas is quite unique,
But yeah, you can't like Pro Fanatica and
exactly.
Incantation, them guys.
All of them have got great ideas. I mean, fucking great ideas. I'll listen to some of their stuff and I'll go, God damn, that was really an awesome switch, awesome change, that I've never heard in any of these European bands. So where'd you get that,
I have a question, speaking of European bands. There's a lot of bands that pop up from Europe that, claim big Necrovore influences. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the Guile or Concrete Winds, or my favorite, Omega Vortex. There you go, Rob. from Germany. I think Rob's actually talked to you guys in the past. I don't know, but how you guys feel? Have you heard those bands, and what do you think about what's going on in Europe with the? And it's and Malicious, another one from Finland that have like Necrovore, basically vibes in their music.
Yeah, I'm really big into a lot of those bands over there because, I mean, think about it. I mean, a lot of us guys that are in the United States are European. We're a lot of us are. Or unless we're gaining influences from south of the border, which those guys got a really good vibe on stuff. But I hear a lot of really unique stuff coming out of Europe that has been really influential as well, and plus some of the bands that gave us homage, because when we did drop in over Europe, I think we started in like somewhere in Germany and Poland, and then it kind of spread over to France, and then went down south, and we never got much notoriety from England, because I guess they had that whole punk scene, but
Gotcha.
But I've heard a lot of those bands out of there, and some of them that I never knew that we influenced them. I was really blown away that they would throw us a credit, and I'd be like, "God damn, that's really awesome." And other like, for example, like I went to a Houston show not too long, like a couple years ago, and I think Morbid was playing, and then with Morbid was At the Gates and Dissection, and you've heard of At the Gates and Dissection. So I show up over there, and I'm back there, back by the tour buses with a buddy of mine. He goes, "Hey man, let's head back there and see if we can't run into the guys from Morbid." We say hi, and I had my Necrovore shirt on, and they have all these tour buses, like so they had all these rock star buses, and they were playing at a pretty big venue, and this fucking roadie goes, "Hey, what are you doing with a Necrovore shirt on?" I'm like, "Oh, fucking John, my name's John Deplachett. I'm from Necrovore." And he runs up on the bus and he pulls off Incantation and Dissection and At the Gates, and they come off and they're just like, "Oh my God, we take all these pictures." Just hitting Morbid was off to the side, and I was like, "God damn, what the fuck's going on?" Off on demo, and they're like, "Dude, So it was pretty cool. So I started getting more and more aware of that we were helping to influence a lot of those guys. So even though you heard me saying some stuff about the guys from Norway, I wasn't good friends with him, a lot of those guys. In fact, I probably talked to Euronymous before he fucking died, because I had a call from him that weekend, and I talked to him, and he had I think he had some other guy in the background, and I forgot who that guy was, but 2 weeks later I heard he was fucking dead, and I was like, "God damn motherfucker," And,
yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
So them guys are obviously spreading the word around too. Then.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a real life issue.
What's up?
I've been sitting here drinking water for a few hours now. You think you could possibly carry on for a few moments if I exited?
Yeah,
for a few
yeah.
moments?
If you go out and take a right and the first right.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. Body happens.
Yeah,
Body
just pick on his equipment and roast your weenie. You'll love it.
Yeah, it's a little, just yank that door open. So yeah, them guys obviously spread the word around too, and that's cool,
And so I'm into a lot of the new metal too that's out. So there's a lot of really good shit that's out. So I keep track of it when it pops out, but I'm like one of those guys that'll like listen to pieces and sections of songs that really stand out to me, and I'll go back and re-listen maybe to that section. Like I'll hear a bridge, or I'll hear how a guy goes into this, or I'll hear how somebody adds a break and then they transition into this, and that's what really stands out for me.
You like that? The dissect
it. I dissect songs. I'll go back, rewind just to hear like one little part, one little piece, one little part. I'm like, oh man, that's so fucking cool.
John has a question. Can I ask you about what he was doing for? Oh yeah, Morbid Sound back in '98. Were you doing sound for them on shows on a little tour run?
Yeah. So remember I told you that story where I showed up at their house and I was like, I just banging on the door, and then here David opens up and he's like wondering who the fuck this guy is. And I'm wearing a Necrovore shirt on. So 2 weeks later, they're like, "Well, man, you're welcome to stay here with us, but we're gonna go up. We're gonna go up to hit up the East Coast. We're gonna do a tour in fucking New York." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, man, I'll go." And there was no question about me running their sound. I didn't even fucking, And so we scrapped up on a tour bus. We just basically gutted out a fucking school bus, put bunk beds in it, and put our guns in it and our dog in it, and threw all of our equipment into it, and started trekking up on the East Coast.
Okay.
So we're supposed to play all these shows in Philadelphia and in New York and all this shit like that, and streets and all these other places. And as soon as we get into Jersey, we get busted by the fucking state troopers. They pull us over, and the dude walks on. He's like, "Hey, so what's all these fucking shotgun shells doing in the goddamn, in your ashtray?" And somebody whips out a fucking double barrel shotgun underneath the seat, and he goes, "Oh, it's for a fucking shotgun." And they fucking like fucking losed it. And the dog's trying to get at the motherfucker because we had this lime bred pit bull, and they're in lime bred. If any of you guys know about lime bred pit, they're a little fucking nutty. They're like their brains are like squeezing onto their their skulls are squeezing onto their brains, and the dogs are hyper fucking.
That's a great.
Trying to get to the dude. So, long story short, we all get thrown in jail. And for 2 weeks in New Jersey, they impound our bus. They even impound the fucking dog, and they put him in a pound.
Shit.
And the funny thing is, they had us on camera, in our own little private cell, all crammed together. They were watching all of our movements, and it turned out the guy that was the sheriff of the area, he was like this hardcore religious right-wing guy.
Oh,
and,
great. All right.
And they were watching us every move. He kept coming there trying to preach to us and all this other shit. And one of the other things they found on the bus, which really, I found out later, really freaked them the fuck out, was we had this huge Tupperware container. It was big, and you could see through it. And in the Tupperware container,
Where you ended up, man?
in the Tupperware container was a human skull.
Oh, I thought you ended up, man.
No, we're still going.
Okay.
So in our Tupperware container, was a human skull, and on the top of the Tupperware container,
Can you hear me now, or?
motherfucker.
Okay, I was gonna say, see, I cut off. I'd make a comment.
Not that you couldn't see through the motherfucker, but on the very top it said skull. In case you just didn't know, there was a skull in there. It's a skull. And then, of course, there's this human skull. And they go, "Where the fuck did you get this?" And they did a forensic study and found it was off this guy. It was like buried. It was like some old pastor, or some shit they got. And I said, "I don't know. We got it from a science department."
They're thinking you guys had some
part of our props, Anyway, we finally got released out of there. We got all bailed out and got put on promotion because of the fucking all the guns. They confiscated all of our guns. I think we got them back when we headed up to New York. And then and when we got up in the streets, I did sound for Morbid asked me to do sound for them on streets tours, and that was me. And there's some pictures of me doing streets. And the weird thing about that is, so I knew their parts pretty well. So anytime they came to those really cool transitions that they would do, or those power sections, I would just drive up the volume, or I'd pull up the guitars, and I was like real dynamic with it. I was like, "Oh, it's just I crushed the front row with this, here, take that, you little fuckers,
Yeah.
Right. And Morbid came back after. They go, "Hey, man, you want to be our sound guy?" And I was like, "Dude, I might want to still do Necrovore. I don't know,
That's awesome.
But
were you
when we
was
ended
there?
up, when we ended up, I'm going to finish this up. When we ended up in Yonkers, so we're up in Yonkers, and the New York cops come on our fucking bus because they say these chicks gone missing, and there's rumors that we had them and blah blah blah.
Okay.
And by this time we got our weapons back, and this fucking New York cop comes on with his buddy, and he's got his shirt all unbuttoned down to his fucking gut. He's all opened up. They're all casual, like. So, here you got these fucking girls on the book, over here. No, we don't got any girls. And we had the shotgun shell sitting in the fucking ashtray. And he's like, "What the fuck is this for?" And the same numbnut, the roadie pulls out the double barrel shotgun. He goes, "That's for a fucking shotgun." This dude, and credit to the New York cops, he did not fucking flinch, didn't even give a shit. And he just looked at it and he goes, "Yeah, well, you guys keep that under wraps. We're not going to, whatever the fuck, but we're just looking for these girls. So, whatever." And then he just walks off and he fucking face them. It was so kick ass. I was like,
that's badass. At least you didn't have to deal with legal fucking issues this time.
So we did some shows there, and then we headed back to Florida. And by the time we finally got down to Florida, they got wind of all the shit that happened in Daytona. We got evicted out of the house, and then we had to move to Tampa.
Oh,
that's where we ran into Dig. He showed up from Earache to sign them up, and I said, "Dude, you need to sign up in Malaysia." And he's like, "Well, Morbid wants us to put all my money into this." I said, "Well, you're fucking stupid not to get these guys too, because they're badass."
Yeah, I mean, they put out a great first album. So
yeah.
Those
guys are super fucking cool when I met them, and they're all really great guys.
My friend sent me a picture, Francisco. Do you remember meeting Jesse? Do you remember this picture being taken?
Yeah, I do. I was kind of blown away when I saw that, and I was at one of the shows out in San Antonio, and yeah, he was really fucking cool. Yeah, that was real long
There,
time ago. I
that
didn't
was
even know the
probably
picture was around until I saw it, like a few years back, and I was like, God damn.
yeah, that's a kind of meeting of two metal titans right there.
Yeah.
See, that's what we need. We need all the bootleg Necrovore shirts. The logo isn't big enough on them. We need some new ones with the logo nice and giant like the old days. I'm tired of these.
Yeah, so the old original shirts have the big logo, like you said, on the front, and then on the back it has all that shit in Latin.
Yeah.
Then it has a big thing in Latin, and then they're in three colors. They're white, black, and the red. And all the Latin script is in red. And that's what we were screening ourselves, when we first released it. So if anybody's got one of those, hold on to them, because I don't even have one of those. So,
No, mine's long gone. I think I got one from Hogwild years ago. But yeah, it ain't gonna fit me anyway. So that's a whole nother story. So, is there anything else? I think we're winding down here, unless you guys want to keep rolling. I know the day's rolling on, but is there anything else you want to add,
Ross? We got so much stuff to talk about. We could end this doing tour number 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's so much that we haven't covered,
yeah,
right, with all the stories, but I'm sure everybody's got something to do.
Yeah.
Mongo, eat.
Yeah,
Mongo,
eat. Yeah, I know. So I'm kind of getting.
I know you're going eat.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to get off the end. There's a lot more about the drummers, and the transition between the drummers to talk about.
Yeah, we never.
A lot of talk about fucking with Staffney and his drumming and what was he all about and what the guy would look like.
I was going to say, man, stories about.
As a matter of fact, if you remember the original Death Clock fucking videos and shit like that, that fucking dude, the drummer,
that's Scott Staffney,
looks like Scott Staffney. And we first saw that, I went,
talks like really? Scott Staffney. No fucking that accent, that is Scott Staffney.
Redneck look with his hair sticking out the side with that fucking tooth gap, and he talks like that. I was like,
that's Staffney.
What
man.
the fuck? I'm gonna have to talk with the guys that wrote that.
Wow, I don't even.
Yeah, I mean, what the odds, right? And he talks just like him. He acts like a fucking redneck, and I was like, God damn. So there's so many stories about fucking him. And plus another drummer that I wished I would have worked with that Louis turned me on to, I think is Frank, I think it was somebody Ramirez out of Houston. I think it was Frank Ramirez or something like that.
Houston people speak up. Yeah. Oh, God, everybody wants 10 parts of this.
Yeah, we could fill it up.
Yeah, we'll fill it up. We'll segment it where we're not jumping all over the fucking place and all the stuff and the antics that happened with Morbid, all the stuff that happened out in Los Angeles, all the stuff that happened.
Hey there, man, into the storm of steel. That's all right, brother. I wanted John to talk.
Paul Ramirez.
Paul Ramirez.
Louis
turned me on to Paul Ramirez. I met Paul Ramirez. He's like this 6'4" fucking Hispanic guy, monster,
giant.
Fucking aggressive, and just was a badass fucking drummer. And he caught me at a wrong period of my time. And he goes, and Louis like, because I asked Louis, I go, hey man, you want to help me get this stuff out? And he says, well, in all honesty, man, you need to work with Paul, man. He is badass fucking ass. Paul man, was Houston, and Paul came down, and he was real fucking aggressive. He had all these great ideas about what to do with the original stuff because he heard what Staffney was doing. And I regretted to this day that I didn't work with Paul Ramirez. I was like, God damn it, what the fuck? But I think I was like going back into college and shit.
Man, another dude that really could have worked out well. I knew the guy out of Austin. He was about 6'2", blonde, surfer boy, big old dude now. And he was an awesome drummer. He had a beautiful big kit, but he was in college. And this was like in the very, very beginning. And
yeah, Paul would have fit it really well because he was dark. He was the only dude that ever came up to me and knew every fucking lyric of everything that I wrote in every fucking song, down to every enunciation. He's like, well, I get what you're saying here. You're blah, 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 blah. But then you don't say anything here, and here. And I've always was thinking you're either saying this or saying this. And I'm like thinking, well, I'm recording the fucking rehearsal tape, dude. I didn't tell him this, but I was like going, well, that's because I was like, blah, 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 when I was screaming it, But he knew every and, but, bore, and, any other type of word I've made. And I was like, God damn, this guy's got this thing engraved in his brain. And
speaking of before we go, want to talk about any of the lyrics, inspirations, what what they were about, or what inspired you to write songs, any movie situation, occult readings, or whatever?
I know, Ross, you want to get into lyrics. Plus,
Well-
you're not talking enough.
Yeah, that's what the chat was saying. They said Ross.
All right, man.
Talking enough.
With lyrics, I really enjoy history. History, mythology. So you always want to try to incorporate everything, especially anything that was specifically local, into your lyrics. But you want to make it fit into a much broader pattern of something that is universally understood. So what we were always trying to capture was that primal feeling, the anger, the rage, that exact moment when you're slipping into madness. So you're always trying to catch that primal stuff that speaks to everyone. Because we were angry, we were mad, and it wasn't a specific anger at this or this. It was just this huge amount of tapped anger. So I would always try to capture that anger and put it into the lyrics, into the music, into something that was broad enough, to get you a real feeling of where we were trying to come from. Because always what you're trying to do is to bring that listener into your world, and share with them the experience that you're going through. So while John was always trying to get it musically, I wanted to get it lyrically, to hit to the real primal.
Yeah, so we're not just talking about death and destruction at all time. You're like, okay, this next song's about death and destruction. Okay, the next song's about death and destruction. Okay, you know what I mean? Oh, and then you died, and you died, and you died. No, fuck no. It was either a kind of like the hypocrisy. Of course, we covered the hypocrisy of religion, and the hypocrisy of those ideas infecting the human mind, deflecting the human mind from moving forward and finding its full potential. And we may say that in the darkest way, you know what I mean? Like the whore of Babylon, mass stagnation, withering, decay, the whore of Babylon, extracting tribute from the fools, which I would say in Latin, And then, and I meant that to be like, you were foolish enough to listen to this because you were enticed by it, to believe in it, and thus in life. And so that's maybe something I would say.
You're really not going to find too many people in the world that are more anti-religion.
Yeah, so we would
constantly
on these themes of how it made your life stagnate, and how it degraded your fullest potential, and how you could become this much more and be just purely fucking. And there was always these ideas of linking to the darkness. And allowing yourself to go in as the warrior, the journey into the dark void, because you're going to come out as the warrior, and the one that's knowledgeable, and a fucking god form. So don't be afraid of the darkness. It's wanting to bring you in,
Okay, in my mind, that's like very Conan the Barbarian way of looking at dealing with darkness. Like, if you read the Conan novels, that's a lot of times that's what he does. He's going and fighting ancient gods, and it comes out for the better in the end. I'm a Conan nerd, but that's how I'm tying it in there. But that's cool.
Yeah. So Ross, he's a little bit different take than I did. He gets a little more poetic than I do, and I get more in the primal, and he gets more in the poetic and the more structured. But I think the whole idea is to, I don't think our society has a rite of passage anymore. I don't think we have a rite of passage. It's like if you go back to the old Mesopotamian, pre-Sumerian, Hittite hunting gathering men, where they had these rites of passage and ceremonies for you to engage in knowledge and to meet your full potential as a man. We don't have that, and
really going in the left field here, but that is the truth of the matter. One of the issues we are having now is the youth, sorry guys, they've lost touch with what it means to be, I don't know.
And
you know what I mean?
And Black Death to me is the whole journey of the warrior into the dark side. And you have to go to the darkness to find the light.
It's transformative.
The light of knowledge and wisdom.
It's a transformative.
And you become a powerful being after that, I think.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think maybe what you were getting at is like males kind of get their balls cut off nowadays.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of the fact that
they're running around the pasture, right? Not doing shit, not meaning.
Yeah.
Someone needs to slap you upside the head every now and then and tell you, hey, pull your head out of your
I paid
ass.
my taxes, and now I'm just sitting here waiting to die. Blah. Is that what
Yeah.
life really fucking about?
No.
No, in fact, that you see that should make you angry. That should piss you off.
Exactly.
That should motivate you to go do something. That's what starts that warrior journey.
Very cool. No, and this music, like you guys, when I was a kid and I hear it, it's like you were tapping into something unknown, something like, wow, this is taking me somewhere that I have not heard.
And again,
yet.
that's always what you're trying to do.
But it was also with aggression.
That's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to bring that person in.
And we all were identifying with that, right? And other guys' bands were fucking able to pick up on it and drive with that too, because we all had a commonality of what we're looking for. There's a reason why you like Black Death or death metal or anything that's aggressive in any form or fashion, because you're a daring fucking being that's willing to fucking explore. You're not afraid. You're not afraid of anything. Let's confront ourselves and become a god in the fucking end. So I guess that's a little philosophical, but
but it's great. That's what we want to get into, like what drives behind the scenes. Yes, we can talk. The riffs, obviously, the music's great, but there's also a force that's behind her that is driving it.
Because think about it. I mean, when you're playing riffs and you're playing music and you're hearing these strange little articulated sounds and these power tones, there's volumes of information that is being conveyed right to your cerebral cortex.
Yeah, and that's where the term poser needs to come in.
Yeah.
Because either you have this in you that you can let out, or you don't. You can be technical, but that doesn't mean you're powerful. Unless you have... The music comes from inside of you to get out. That's what it's got to happen that way.
Because like what you guys are saying, I hear bands nowadays. They can be fast, they can be proficient, but I'm like, but where's the brutality, the psychoticness?
Yeah, there's no essence of it.
The mania.
No, man, you can tell these guys go home in the evening, and they sit down and have their little slice of pizza or whatever you want. There's no life, man. They've got no life force to give to the product.
There's no wildness in it.
No, there's no just...
Or that's all that they're capable of. I mean, there's just many people that are just ignorant about everything. That's all they're capable of. And at the longest time, I was angry at a lot of those people. And I just thought, they're fucking all stupid. They don't know any better. A lot of people just are not capable of it. I think the group of guys that are into the whole Black Death and all that like that, they've got something to say. They're like, these are mainly fucking intelligent human beings that are powerful in their own right. And they don't even realize their own full fucking potential. And that's what I think that we all share something in common.
No, and that's really one of the reasons why it pissed me off when someone said poser. You're going, man, you have no clue as to what I've done, what my life has been, what I am still doing.
Yeah.
You're going, you're so damn clueless that I need to just ignore the insult. But
yeah, so I've heard great riffs from some of the bands on the East Coast and around here that when I hear these transitions, I can tell when they're picking up on it. I'll hear that transition and that change, and I'll go, holy fuck, I wonder if they even knew what they did right there. I mean, that was fucking amazing, But the fact that you're able to tap into it, that's what you want. So this is like not just a movement, it's an art form. Music on the fucking commercial level is just commercial music. You ask those people why you like it. Oh, it made me feel good, or I was feeling melancholy for the day, or this makes me feel nostalgic. Not this shit. This is a journey of aggression, and power, and those that are willing to be the fucking, the warrior, to delve deep into those mysteries and become fucking god forms. You can tell when these bands that are writing these fucking riffs know what they're fucking talking about. Other ones are just filler material. I'll hear the filler material. I'll know it's filler material. Then I'll hear something amazing happen where they do some fucking sick transition.
Well, these guys were talking about a little bit of this last night, man. And okay, I don't give a shit how great your music is if I see you and I look at you And like you guys said last night, you look like you just got off your shift at fucking Walmart. I've got nothing fucking for you because this is not your life. You just happen to be proficient in this one thing, but you don't have you've got no energy to give it. You're tapped out with what you can do. You're out.
Yeah.
No, I what you're talking about is like, if you're going to play Black Death,
you got to fucking be Black Death.
You have to, you got to be Black Death. You can't go up on stage and be in like your ball cap or your, shorts and your, work shirt or whatever. I mean, I'm not talking about in everyday life when you're driving your car around going to get food or something. Right. I'm talking about on stage. There is a certain, when people go, I don't like image. Well, it's not image. It's like the whole and the whole package of it all.
Oh man, this is something where John and I talk about frequently.
Putting your mind into it, you're allowing yourself to be part of the ceremony or whatever you want to call it. Your whole
and we're moving on. You're going. I mean, this is everything.
We all got to do what we got to do in this fucked up in our fucking society, right? We all had to work. We got to feed ourselves. We got to feed our kids. We got to fucking pay our bills. Blah blah blah. But if we can separate from that and then tap into our real selves and fucking take it there, goddamn right, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I think that's. I think it shows up in your choice of careers. It shows up in what you do with your free time. You're going, fuck, man. That's why you get up in the morning and you go,
symbolism.
Fuck this. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to run. Fuck this. Run around the backyard, scream. I don't care what it is. You've got to get that out of you. You've got to live that life.
And going up on stage and looking like just some normal average Joe.
I
can't take that serious.
That ain't
I
cutting
cannot take you serious. And you might have good music and you might be, best player in the fucking area. I don't care. To me, you're not taking it serious.
No, you're not. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I know John does.
Oh yeah, this is Roy from Necroharmonic. I'm sure John may know Roy. He has a label as well. Great guy. Yeah. So and obviously you guys did. I mean, you had the homemade stage gear. So that's like your passion put into it because you crafted it yourself. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, and I know Johnny goes. It's more than that. When John made a comment earlier about being out in the woods and stuff, there was more to it than just that. I mean, we put a lot of effort, a lot of our self and our essence into it. I mean, this was it was a thing, man. When we were building artwork or making artwork, we would put ourselves into that situation and into that mind frame to do it.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't just a chore or a task. It was just one more extension of.
There's so much we can expand upon with this whole idea. And so maybe next time you have us on, we can talk about it further. But, like the whole concept of Black Death and the reason why we call it Black Death or psychotic Black Death, as opposed to, I'm not differentiating those terms just to say, oh, it's thrash metal versus death metal versus power metal. No. It's about that whole concept tied together. It's like with art and calling it art, the Black Death, it's those taking it to the extreme, and understanding what that extreme's all about. And no one can own that, Go ahead.
I think you guys were the first time I actually heard the word Black Death too, used to describe music way back when. I was like, I don't remember anybody else, because we would say black metal, death metal, speed metal, power thrash, or whatever. But I think Necrovore was the first one to say Black Death, psychotic Black Death. Is that?
Yeah, we called it psychotic later because of our ripping structure that was kind of doing all these disharmonic type tones and stuff like that. As long as it wasn't too abstract, but it was able to capture those weird tones that just sent shivers down your spine. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Like chaotic malevolence and all that, the newer stuff, I was really hearing like some of that going on, in at least my mind, some of the skelling, It's like, wow. Fast as shit, too, by the way, on the picking, but excellent fucking music. I want to hear, like, a studio version of these songs, you know? Like, it has to happen. The fucking people need to be shown
Well,
what
now that
the
we did
world.
your podcast, I'm sure I'm going to be hearing it from everybody. It's like, John, you already told everybody you already got it. And Ross and you guys got it. We've seen it. I'm going to show up at your house, pound on your fucking door and go, how much did you finish this weekend? You know? All right. Let me see here.
You know, we're not pressuring you guys to go out and do a, you know, 2-month tour, but just, you know, get that album out, man. That's what
Shit.
that's what I want to
I
fucking see.
still got Mr. Santa Claus's fucking image in my head. So it won't get out. I'm like, fucking leave.
Like
Get out of me.
All right, man. I think we will end it here. And if you guys are up to it, we'll do a part 2 in the future, man.
Well, thanks for the invite, man. And I'm glad all you guys, whoever chimed in and added your input, you know, we're all the guys in the scene are super fucking kick ass, and we like them all.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm gonna go home and read the comments.
Guys that are here know exactly what we're talking about because, you know, we're all common, man, amongst this movement. We are a fucking movement.
Yeah, I agree. Oh man, yeah. There's been great comments. A lot of regulars in here too. So.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I'm gonna go home and read the comments.
I'm hoping if all this works out right, next time we see you, I'm hoping that I have a clip for you and go. All right, well, I have something for you here now.
Badass, that'd be great.
And either everyone will fucking rip it up or go, well, John, I wish you would have made this transition or that transition, which I'm open to. It's cool.
Or you're going to hear it. It doesn't sound like the old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I want people to like what we're doing, and I want to like what they're doing. And, you know, I respect input from anybody, you know, because that knows that has already been here in the scene. They fucking know, right?
For sure. All right, Ross, you got any last words to the chat or the people who are going to be listening later or whatever? You know?
No, man, I'm like I say, echo what John said. I'm absolutely fantastic. I'm glad we all got out here and had a little bit of time together. And yeah, hell yeah, I'm looking forward to a second part.
All right, well, I guess we're going to have to do it now, everyone. We're going to have a part 2 in the future of Necrovore here.
And hopefully we'll have a clip for you guys.
Oh, shit. And I appreciate you, Ross, and you, John, from coming on, you know, and talking this, because I think it's important for the scene, the Black Death scene, to hear from you guys directly. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, everyone, that's it. We are out. No outro. I'm going to end it.
All right.
Blackest of cards, everyone. See you soon.
All right. Later.